Chapter 26. Facing Huo Yuhao's accusation, Nanman Yunar and Xiao Xiao, who had just met, actually started to share the same hatred. Who told you to be so perverted? Yes, a white 10-year soul ring has such a strong effect, and you can actually defeat a 29-level Great Soul Master. What is it if you are not a pervert? The subsequent complaints were naturally made by Nanman Yuana. What level 29 Great Soul Master? Xiao Xiao was almost useless after being trained by Zhou Yi yesterday. Naturally, he didn't know about the battle between Huo Yuhao and Dai Huobin in the soul fighting area, so he raised questions. Hey? You don't know? Nanman Yunar saw that Xiao Xiao was unclear, and then briefly introduced Huo Yuhao's glorious deeds. Then Xiao Xiao looked at Huo Yuhao with a super perverted look. How long do you guys have to discuss? My classmates and I are impatient, aren't we, classmates? While the three of them continued chatting, the voice of Hibiscus came from behind, and then there were calls from classmates one after another. Yeah. Okay, now that we understand each other, we can prepare to fight. Huo Yuhao said, and the three of them quickly prepared for battle. It's just that their positions are different from Ning Tian's. This time, all three of them are the main attackers, and Xiao Xiao, the only back row, is also positioned very far forward. Whoever rushes slowly in the main move will be in the back row. Teacher Hibiscus, we are ready. After Huo Yuhao said he was ready, Hibiscus reacted quickly and pressed a button, and a Gale Wolf with 100 years of cultivation was released. What Huo Yuhao didn't notice was that as the battle began, his luck value fluctuated slightly. After the battle begins, mental detection begins. It was only during this kind of battle that Nanman Yunar and Xiao Xiao could better appreciate the power of Huo Yuhao's mental detection sharing. This is really more than just having a god's perspective. Because this sharing is like connecting the minds of three people together. You don't need to think too much, or even say anything, you can know what the other person is thinking, what he is going to do immediately, and even the enemy's every move. All can be detected. With the assistance of this perspective, the three of them cooperated extremely well. Facing the attack of the Gale Wolf, Huo Yuhao directly used the Ghost Shadow Confusion Trap to take the initiative to meet it. The Dachan level Swanyu hand combined with the control of the crane and the dragon, reduced the momentum of the Gale Wolf and fell to the ground. At this time, Nanman Yunar's attack also arrived, and a green slash fell. The Gale Wolf, who had just fallen down for no apparent reason, had only time to raise his claws to block it before he was knocked away. But it was a spirit beast after all, with rough skin and thick flesh, and it hardly suffered any damage. On the contrary, it stimulated its ferocity, and wanted to repeat the same trick to scare the three of them. But Huo Yuhao was on guard against this move and used mental shock to interrupt the roar of the wind wolf. Almost at the same time, Xiao Xiao's two soul skills were used one after another, and the three cauldrons suppressed them, and the concussive force on them directly suppressed the Gale Wolf. Then Nanman Yuana's attack came again. This time the slash hit the weak spot on the wind wolf's back, rendering it unable to move. Nanman Yunar, who was flying in the sky, also landed on the ground. Is this the end? Nanman Yunar looked at the bleeding wind wolf lying on the ground, and an unreal feeling emerged in her heart. Is this wind wolf dead like this? Not only her, but the surrounding classmates and teachers who were watching the battle fell into silence. Obviously, the scene in front of them also gave them a great impact. A third-level Soul Master and two second-level Great Soul Masters fought against the century-old wind wolf with great difficulty, but they were defeated by one Soul Master and two Great Soul Masters. Mujin looked at the three people who easily solved the battle, and she found out who the key to the problem was almost at a glance. First, exclude Nanman Yuana. After all, she had just fought and it was impossible for her to have such coordinating abilities. Then exclude Xiao Xiao, whose martial spirit is a tripod-like weapon. Then, there is only one truth, and that is Huo Yuhao. Classmate Huo Yuhao, can you tell me what your soul skill is? Mujin first locked up the seriously injured Gale Wolf as usual, and then asked Huo Yuhao. Teacher, my first soul skill is mental detection sharing, which can provide you with a mental vision that can see anything within a 50-meter radius. With that said, Huo Yuhao also gave Mujin a taste of this feeling. Hibiscus felt a little unbelievable at this novel experience. Classmate Huo Yuhao, is this really a 10-year soul ring? Mujin looked at the white soul ring under Huo Yuhao and really didn't understand why such a soul skill that could be called a divine skill would appear on Huo Yuhao, who had owned the soul ring for 10 years. At this moment, Hibiscus suddenly felt that there was something wrong with the vision ahead. Classmate Huo Yuhao, have you noticed a black spot in front of that soul guide? Huo Yuhao looked in the direction that Hibiscus pointed and found a black spot. Teacher, there seems to be something wrong with the soul guide. Song King Han, who was inconspicuous among the crowd, said, his eyes also fell on it. Because he knew a lot about soul guides, Song King Han discovered the problem at a glance. This place should use a new type of binding soul guide, which should be around level 2. Normally, it can trap soul beasts under 500 years old, but the front end of this soul guide should have collided when it was placed, causing damage to the energy transmission device at the bottom. Just as Song King Han was talking, a broad figure behind him enveloped him, and the huge figure covered him in the shadow. Young classmate is very knowledgeable. Would you consider joining our soul guide department? Vice Dean Jian. Seeing the middle-aged man coming over, Mu Jin asked uncertainly. Qian Duoduo was a little surprised to see that the teacher recognized him. It stands to reason that he is the vice dean of the soul guide department. He rarely appears in the martial soul department, so he should not have any intersection with this teacher. Could it be that his reputation has spread to the martial soul department? Qian Duoduo thought happily. Although he had no impression, Qian Duoduo nodded. Just as he was about to reply, he turned his head as if he sensed something, and then saw the problematic soul guide in front of him shattered, and a giant wolf with a length of 1.5 meters rushed towards the team of classmates. Qian Duoduo snorted coldly, and when he was about to wave his hand to kill the swift wolf without vision, his hand movement paused slightly. It was just because there was suddenly an extra field of view before his perspective, and a paragraph of words came to his mind. Teacher, a soul beast is coming, you quickly beat it. Chapter 27. This classmate, I am older and my reaction time is slower. I guess I have to rely on you this time. After replying to Huo Yuhao through mental detection sharing, the Gale Wolf who was running staggered as if he had been slapped in the face. There was fear in his eyes, and he began to run away in a panic, and the direction of his escape happened to be Huo Yuhao's direction. Huo Yuhao listened to Qian Duoduo's reply and then looked at the Gale Wolf rushing towards him, not knowing what was going on. He cursed in his heart, you old fool, then stopped Nanman Yunar and Xiao Xiao who wanted to come over to help, turned around and ran in the direction of Qian Duoduo. You damn old man, I'll run over to you to see if you can do anything. Huo Yuhao, be careful. Mu Jin naturally didn't know the exchanges and plans between the two, but she could clearly see that Gale Wolf was heading in the direction of Huo Yuhao. Suddenly his heart tightened, and he subconsciously shouted and entered the martial soul possession stage. He was about to rush forward to suppress the Gale Wolf, but Qian Duoduo stopped him. Teacher, don't worry, let me see what this little guy is capable of. Qian Duoduo said, and under the pull of his soul power, an invisible and intangible wall of air appeared in front of Huo Yuhao, blocking Huo Yuhao's steps. Hitting the wall of air with a bang, Huo Yuhao's mouth twitched and he looked at Qian Duoduo, who was still suppressing a smile. Naturally, he knew that this was also the work of the other party, and at the same time, he also had some guesses about what the other party meant by doing this. In other words, his original intention was to attract Qian Duoduo's attention in this way, just because Tianmeng Binkan told him before Qian Duoduo came over that Qian Duoduo was a strong man at the title Douluo level, and then thinking about the other party's understanding of soul guidance knowing the weapon and its appearance, it is not difficult to guess that he is the deputy dean of the soul guidance department, Qian Duoduo. Therefore, he wanted to show the value of sharing his mental detection and attract Qian Duoduo's attention. Maybe he could get access to the soul guide in advance and get some benefits. But he didn't expect Qian Duoduo to be so sinister. The target of the 500-year-old soul beast was a normal fighting soul master below level 30 soul master. So he, a 17th level soul master, was left to fight alone? Although he is not afraid either. I don't even want to pretend to be this bad, why do you have to let me pretend? It's not mellow at all. Huo Yuhao complained and took back the sharing of mental detection, and looked at the rushing wolf with a serious face. Soul beasts with 500 years of cultivation are also very threatening to him, especially since he is not yet at his peak and needs to go all out. Just when Huo Yuhao was preparing to fight the enemy with all his strength, Qian Duoduo behind him had been paying attention to him, even more nervous than he himself. As long as there was the slightest mistake, he would crush the wind wolf to death. Because what really attracted Qian Duoduo was not Song King Han's words, but the mental fluctuations emanating from Huo Yuhao. Otherwise, wouldn't a new student who has some knowledge of soul guidance tools grab a lot of them? What is missing from their current ultimate individual soldier plan? What is lacking is a spiritually outstanding soul master like Huo Yuhao. However, this cultivation level is indeed a bit low, but it doesn't matter. For a soul master, just a little talent is enough. What is more important is the character, adaptability, and enthusiasm for the soul guidance device. At this moment, the Gale Wolf came to Huo Yuhao under the control of Duo, opened its bloody mouth and pounced on Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao used the Ghost Shadow Conspirator at his feet, just in time to avoid the attack of the Gale Wolf, and hit it with a mental shock. While the Gale Wolf was relaxing, he dodged again and landed on the Gale Wolf's back, rolled with it, and punched it in the eye sockets one after another. This series of actions is simple to say, but it is indispensable for mental detection and Dachin-level Ghost Shadow fan tracking. Although the strength was much weaker than that of the 500-year-old Gale Wolf, the Gale Wolf entered a weak state due to the impact of the mental shock. Huo Yuhao also attacked the vulnerable eye area, thus suppressing the Gale Wolf. Seeing that Gale Wolf was about to regain his energy, Huo Yuhao hit him with another mental shock. Multiple consecutive mental shocks and the continuous use of shared mental detection consumed most of Huo Yuhao's mental and soul power, and his face became a little pale. Okay, little classmate, you did very well. Seeing that the outcome was decided, Duo used his soul power to separate Huo Yuhao and Gale Wolf, and also used his soul power to enter Huo Yuhao's body. One is to help Huo Yuhao recover his soul power, and the other is to explore Huo Yuhao's qualifications. This investigation didn't matter. Duo actually felt something strange about Huo Yuhao's body. His physical and mental strength are so strong that he doesn't look like a 17th level soul master, but like a soul master with a beast martial soul. And his talent is surprisingly high. Tough meridians, few impurities in the body, and thick bones are all signs of good talent. According to Huo Yuhao's performance, he is not a person who likes to be lazy and does not like to practice. Then why is he still only at level 10 at the age of 11? What about level 7? Child, what is your martial soul and first soul skill? Huo Yuhao, who had just recovered his soul power, knew the opportunity he had been waiting for had come. My martial soul is Spirit Eyes, a spiritual martial soul. My first soul skill is mental detection sharing, which can detect the surrounding area within 50 meters. Moreover, the range of this soul skill can become larger as my mental power increases. Huo Yuhao revealed what Duo wanted to know in one breath. The facts were as expected. What Huo Yuhao said was exactly what Duo needed. Are you sure? Facing Duo's inquiry, Huo Yuhao nodded affirmatively and gave an example. When I first absorbed the soul ring, the detection range was only 30 meters. Now after upgrading to level 17, the mental detection range only reaches 50 meters. After saying that, Duo could no longer suppress the excitement in his heart. Because if what Huo Yuhao said is true, then the extreme individual soldier plan has really changed from an illusory concept to an achievable plan. Teacher, I will take classmate Huo Yuhao to the Soul Guidance Department first. With that said, Duo hugged Huo Yuhao and flew out of the Colosseum, as cautiously as if he was holding a big baby. His furious look left Mujin and the classmates behind him dumbfounded. Teacher Mujin, who is that teacher? Will Huo Yuhao be okay? Xiao asked hesitantly. Although she felt that Huo Yuhao would be fine, she still asked. That teacher is the Deputy Dean of the Soul Guidance Department. It's a good thing that Huo Yuhao is favored by him. Chapter 28. Okay, students, Huo Yuhao has something to do. Are there any students who would like to come and try some actual combat? Mujin said, and with the example of Huo Yuhao, the enthusiasm of the students that had been extinguished was rekindled, and they signed up enthusiastically. On the other side, Huo Yuhao, who was taken to the Soul Guidance Department by Duo, didn't feel any bumps along the way. Except for the fact that Duo's hug was a little tight and made him feel a little uncomfortable, the experience was even smoother than the high-speed rail. Teacher, are you from the Soul Guidance Department? As soon as he was put down on the ground and looking at the sign of the Soul Guidance System in front of him, Huo Yuhao pretended not to recognize him and said, Yes, I am the Deputy Dean of the Soul Guidance Department. As he spoke, Duo stroked the short white beard on his chin, seemingly waiting for Huo Yuhao's surprise. Oh, it turns out he's just the Deputy Dean. Huo Yuhao made a joke and emphasized the tone of the subtitle. The meaning was self-evident. You brat, you are really rude. Duo said angrily, and then led him towards the depths. Seeing Duo's glaring expression, Huo Yuhao felt relieved. Why did Duo force him to pretend to be so tactless? He would feel uncomfortable if he didn't take revenge. After all, Huo Yuhao followed Duo and saw many novel soul tools. The basic soul tools I saw last time when I followed Mujin were not even the tip of the iceberg. The soul tools I saw along the way were worthy of the title of Shrek Academy, the #1 college in the mainland. Although the soul guidance department of Shrek Academy was not outstanding, Huo Yuhao was still able to feast his eyes on the various types of soul guidance devices in it. Okay, little guy, come in. Huo Yuhao's eyes were filled with novelty as he looked at the door that opened automatically as soon as the person in front of him came. Just because it looks like this is not completely similar to the automatic door in Earth, it is exactly the same. After following Duo in, Huo Yuhao looked at the environment in front of him. The layout here is extremely simple. On the right side are a dozen tables with various iron parts, and on the left side is a platform, with some finished soul guides placed on each platform. Each platform has a designated area, and behind the designated area are targets. Apart from Huo Yuhao and Duo, who had just entered, there were only 2 other people in the huge room. One of them was Hiketu, whom Huo Yuhao had just met a few days ago. Huo Yuhao didn't know the other one, but judging from Hiketu's attitude and the situation here, it should be Fan Yu. Din Jian, didn't you go to the animal pen to check the soul guide? Hiketu, who was shooting at a moving target with a fixed soul guide, felt strange when he saw Duo walking in. Logically speaking, Duo should be checking the soul guidance device that binds the soul beasts in the beast circle at this time. How come he came back so quickly, with the little brother named Huo Yuhao whom he met last time with him? Duo first nodded to Hiketu, and then greeted Fan Yu who was still assembling the soul guide. Haha, Fan Yu, come on, look, I've brought you a baby. As a result, when he spoke with such a loud voice, Fan Yu, who was still assembling the soul guide over there, stopped, and a puff of black smoke came out of his hand, which made his face darken. I don't know if it's because his face is darkened or because of the black smoke. Vice Dean, I'm assembling the 7th level soul guide. Fan Yu, whose thoughts were disturbed, sighed and walked over. There was a hint of burnt blackness on his handsome face, and the skin that should be fair was also a little red and dark, obviously a little red and warm. Haha, it's okay, Yuhao, please show Fan Yu how to use that soul skill. Duo grabbed Fan Yu's shoulders and winked at Huo Yuhao, completely lacking the authority of the dean in front of Mujin and other classmates. If an outsider looks at this look, how would they know that he is the deputy dean of Shrek's Soul Guidance Department, a titled Douluo? If the clothes on his body were removed, not all the gangsters on the roadside would believe this posturing. But Fan Yu just followed this trick, and his originally dark complexion returned to normal, and the darkness on his face was wiped away by his soul power. Fan Yu looked at Huo Yuhao, who was not very strong in front of him. He could feel that Huo Yuhao's soul power level was probably not too strong, so he was a little puzzled by Duo's behavior of treating Huo Yuhao as his treasure. Huo Yuhao nodded, his eyes turned into green spiritual eyes again, and a white soul ring shone under his feet. The mental detection shared enveloped everyone present, and the range was expanded by Huo Yuhao to the maximum. Psychic detection sharing. This sentence was transmitted by Huo Yuhao to the other 3 people present through sharing. Fan Yu was startled, and the eyes he looked at Huo Yuhao were different. Hiketu, you and this classmate test fire a fixed soul cannon and let him assist you. At noon, Huo Yuhao walked out of the soul guidance department with a smile on his face. There was a small black sign in his hand, which was the identity symbol of the core disciple of the soul guidance department of Shrek Academy. Yes, core disciple. In the original work, Huo Yuhao was not given the Om's core disciple treatment until 3 months later. Huo Yuhao got it just 2 days after he entered school. The only difference from the original work is that it was not Fan Yu but Duo who chose to accept Huo Yuhao as his disciple this time. If becoming a core disciple alone was not enough to make Huo Yuhao so happy, what really excited Huo Yuhao was naturally the increase in his luck power. After obtaining the status of a core disciple, Huo Yuhao's luck power increased by 500 points. After becoming Duo's disciple, his luck power increased by another 500 points, bringing his current luck power to 100,060. I just don't know why, this time he clearly came into contact with Xiao Xiao and Fan Yu, characters who were mentioned in the original book, but his luck power did not increase as a result. Huo Yuhao played with the black sign in his hand and walked towards the Shrek cafeteria. The previous few times he was discouraged by the high prices of the Shrek cafeteria, but now with the status of a core disciple, he can eat whatever he wants, and he has to eat enough. Huo Yuhao thought so, and just as he walked into the cafeteria, someone patted his shoulder from behind. "Hi, Xiao Yuhao, why are you here so late today?" This voice, this tone, Huo Yuhao knew it was Tang Yue without thinking. Turning around, it was indeed Tang Yue. "Sister Xiaoa, it's nothing, I just accidentally became a core disciple of the Soul Guidance Department, and accidentally found Qian Duo, the vice president of the Soul Guidance Department, who is titled Walong Douluo, as my master." Huo Yuhao said calmly, but Tang Yue was not calm at all. "Bai Bei, pinch me, am I hallucinating?" Chapter 29. Tang Yue turned her head to look at Bai Bei dully, unable to believe what Huo Yuhao said. Bai Bei was also a little confused. She didn't know what happened, let alone why Huo Yuhao had become a core disciple in just one day, and there was also a deputy master. Seeing Bai Bei extending her hand, Tang Yue also extended her hand, but instead of letting Bai Bei pinch her, she pinched Bai Bei. "Oh, Teacher Xiaoa, why are you pinching me?" Bai Bei screamed in pain, but Tang Yue seemed confident. "Yes, I'm afraid of pain if you pinch me." In this regard, Bai Bei was speechless. After the fight was over, Huo Yuhao went to the number 6 restaurant and ordered the most expensive set meal, then showed his core disciple's identity card. In this way, he got a set meal worth hundreds of gold soul coins for nothing. Playing with the small black tag of the core disciple in her hand, Tang Yue looked at Huo Yuhao with still a bit of amazement, especially the set meal in his hand. The soup is boiled with the meat tendons of a 1,000-year-old earth dragon. The wingtips are also made from fire-attributed birds that have been around for at least 1,000 years. Tisk, 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 this meal would cost hundreds of gold soul coins if you put it outside. Xiao Yuhao, a core disciple like you, the status is really worth the tuition. Tang Yue said enviously. She felt that this treatment was okay. After all, the Tang sect used to be the number 1 sect in the mainland. Even if it fell into decline, she, the heir, had all kinds of training resources. What she envied was Huo Yuhao's status as a core disciple and a strong master who was at least Contra level. If she also had this master, then their Tang clan wouldn't be wiped out, right? "It's okay, Sister Yaya. After I finish learning the Soul Guide, we will restore the glory of Tang sect together." Huo Yuhao said this and thought the same thing. It's just that the Tang sect after liberation will not be the same as Tang San's. After eating, Huo Yuhao, Tang Yue and the others parted ways. Among the stored soul tools, there were some hidden weapons exclusive to the Tang sect. This was given to Huo Yuhao after Tang Yue truly recognized it, and it was also used by Huo Yuhao for self-defense, although it was of little use to him who was about to start making soul tools. After returning to his small courtyard, Huo Yuhao went to the pirate world without stopping and started practicing. Originally, he planned to find a small yard again, but now he gave up the idea. Just because just now, he sensed that something big about him was about to happen in the far north. If he can rush over, he will definitely gain a lot. Huo Yuhao also had some guesses about this. After all, how many people in the far north can be related to him? It's nothing more than the 3 beasts, Ice Emperor, Snow Emperor, Big White Bear and Little White. According to Huo Yuhao's estimation, the attraction over there should come from the Ice Emperor, because at this stage only the Ice Emperor is still moving around freely. The Snow Emperor has either been captured by the people of the Star Luo Empire, or is in the process of transforming into a human. There should be no intersection with him yet. As for the Big White Bear, Xiao Bai didn't know where to pile the snow, so he could only say don't pay attention to it. After arriving in the world of One Piece, it was still the time just after dinner. Because he had already told Belmere and had a criminal record, Belmere did not lecture Huo Yuhao, his careless adopted son, but he was a little confused about Huo Yuhao and Nami running together mysteriously. But he didn't pay much attention to it, and instead took Nakajao to count the oranges. In a few days, it will be the harvest season in the orange orchards. At that time, merchants will come to buy oranges. After these oranges are sold, they can buy new clothes for Huo Yuhao, Nami, and Nakajao. It just so happens that Nami's birthday is coming soon. Ahaha, this time the orange orchard has a good harvest, I can also buy Nami a birthday cake. Little Nami will be very happy, right? Belmar looked at the dark orange grove in front of her and laughed, but Nakajao who was following her didn't know why. What are you laughing at, Belmere? Nakajao asked curiously. Belmir took a deep puff of the lady's cigarette in his mouth, and slowly exhaled the smoke, releasing a cloud-shaped mist in the sky. Haha, I was wondering if you would build me a big house to live in when you grow up. Belmir said, holding Najijao's hand. The cigarette in his mouth had been extinguished and thrown away at some point. On the other side, Huo Yuhao and Nami returned to the familiar seaside, and it was Huo Yuhao who still guided Nami in her cultivation. I don't know if it's because of Nami's own talent, or because of her physique in the pirate world, or because her physique has been transformed by the power of luck, but Nami's talent is surprisingly good. It is actually almost catching up with Huo Yuhao's current talent, although there is still a slight difference. Don't be distracted and practice seriously, Nami. Seeing that Nami was staring at him, Huo Yuhao patted Nami on the head and signaled her to practice seriously. Okay Huo Yuhao, can you tell me what's interesting in that world? Nami asked curiously. Because while eating, she felt some changes happened to Huo Yuhao that she didn't know about. Through the connection between the two, she also felt that Huo Yuhao was in a good mood, but for some reason, he seemed very anxious. I will tell you after you reach the 10th level and can obtain a soul ring. Upon hearing Nami's inquiry, Huo Yuhao did not answer directly because he did not know how to explain it. After hesitating for a while, I still chose to make a cake, but this cake was a bit dry and I couldn't swallow it without adding water. But Nami was very happy about this, just like the college students who had just stepped out of the society before, she enjoyed eating the cakes drawn by the boss. Okay, Huo Yuhao. After saying that, Nami followed Huo Yuhao's guidance and entered the cultivation state again. Huo Yuhao first called the Tianmeng ice silkworm in the sea of subconsciousness. I don't know why, but Tianmeng usually likes to manifest his conscious body and hang out in the pirate world, and he talks a lot when he comes to the pirate world, as if he wants to vent his frustration at Shrek Academy and rant in revenge. But today, he had finished eating and Tianmeng hadn't said a word, which made him feel a little strange. Brother Tianmeng, I'm going to start practicing. Huo Yuhao shouted, but what he received was Tianmen's feeble reply. Well, I'm here. Then Huo Yuhao saw a big, shriveled insect floating in front of him. Originally, the two tentacles on Tianmen's head were very moving and agile, but now they were like a dead branch under his forehead, and the entire silkworm was quite shriveled. It's like being squeezed dry. Chapter 30. Huo Yuhao was startled when he saw the Tianmeng ice silkworm in front of him, which was no different from a mummy. Before Tianmeng Bing silkworm could speak, a voice came from the depths of Huo Yuhao's sea of consciousness. This big meaty bug was not convinced and wanted to touch me, but it turned out that I didn't do anything. His own mental power was almost exhausted, haha, haha. Listening to the old voice in his mind, Huo Yuhao's heart moved. When he awakened Nami's martial spirit a few days ago, he sensed that Electrolux had woken up and had a fight with Tianmeng. It's just that he was guiding Nami to practice at that time, and Electrolux fell into a deep sleep again later. Thinking that Electrolux would not wake up until 3 months after the original work, he didn't care, but looking at Electrolux's appearance now, he didn't care. It seems that he has not yet recovered his soul power. Maybe he could see what Huo Yuhao was thinking, so Electrolux took the initiative to speak. Little guy, don't think too much. It was during this period that I regained some strength through your practice and was able to wake up. And the power you absorb is not the power you cultivate, but the external energy you absorb when you practice. But I also have to thank you. If it weren't for your strange abilities and the protection of luck, I might not be able to wake up. Electrolux said, letting Huo Yuhao know the reason why Electrolux wakes up faster than in the original work. But from what Electrolux said, he also knew that Electrolux had misunderstood him, and he immediately explained. Yu Lao, you are wrong. That's not what I meant. I can even give you some luck power if you need it, but I can't give you too much. The grey ball of light flashes slightly in the sea of consciousness. With Electrolux's knowledge, he could naturally feel that Huo Yuhao meant what he said. You little guy is interesting. You should be a person of great luck, but your luck has been suppressed and it seems that you have been divided by others. It's not bad to be a little narrow-minded, and you are also a thoughtful person. Huo Yuhao really broke into a cold sweat after saying these words. Isn't it his current situation to break down the meaning of Electrolux's words? What the man with great luck said is that he is the protagonist of Douluo. The suppression of luck should be Jinchu's handiwork to prevent his luck from being lost. Being divided is probably Tang San's handiwork, and the rest is his character. Little guy, you don't have to worry. Since I live in your body like this big bug and receive your favor, I will definitely help you grow. Seeing that Huo Yuhao stopped talking, Electrolux's old voice sounded again. Tianmeng Bingzi, who had been huddled in the corner, did not expect that he was staying well. He was poked by Yi Lao again and was instantly irritated. But when he thought of what he had experienced in the past 2 days, his anger instantly went out, and he became frustrated again. What can he do? You can't win after fighting, and you can't win after talking. Tianmeng, who was so angry, left the sea of consciousness and lay down outside. Huo Yuhao also officially started today's practice. It is worth mentioning that the connection between him and Nami is gradually deepening, and he also has the feeling of fusion of martial souls. However, because the connection is not deep enough, it can only be used to speed up cultivation. The acceleration effect is also not ideal because Nami's level is relatively low. The improvement for him is about 1/10,000th. After a night of practice, Huo Yuhao spent the next half-month in Douluo World immersed in practice. The teaching courses of Douluo World Hibiscus have also officially started. Generally speaking, there is not much difference. They just take the students to exercise every day, teach some basic courses on soul beasts, and occasionally arrange sparring between classmates. It's rare to be able to go to the soul guidance department in the Colosseum like when school starts. In other words, Hibiscus has connections in the soul guidance system and the Colosseum, otherwise there would be no such projects. During this period, Hibiscus introduced a concept called mimetic practice. But I only briefly described it, because mimicry practice is only open to them after the 2nd grade. Huo Yuhao's time has been compressed very much by practicing non-stop for half a month. Basically, Douluo studied with Hibiscus during the day, went to the soul guidance department to learn the basics of soul guidance tools with Hikato in the afternoon, and returned to the One Piece world to practice at night. Occasionally, due to the time difference between the two worlds, Huo Yuhao would sometimes stay in the One Piece world for a longer time. Such a compact arrangement resulted in a substantial improvement in cultivation and strength. Although there is no more Neptune beast meat to eat, the high-end set meals in the college cafeteria can make up for it a little. Huo Yuhao's soul power reached level 20, and his physical fitness also improved significantly. Based solely on Huo Yuhao's judgment, he is already much stronger than Dai Huobin of the 29 Evil Eyes White Tiger Spirit, but still a little worse than Bai Bei. Okay, get out of class is over now. Tomorrow's practical class will still be based on the original rankings, with 3 and 3 sparring sessions. I hope the students are ready. Hibiscus stood on the podium and clapped her hands, indicating that today's class was over. Seeing Mujin walking out of the classroom, Huo Yuhao quickly followed her. Yuhao, what's the matter? Mujin looked at Huo Yuhao who was following behind her and asked with a smile. She had a good impression of Huo Yuhao after spending the past few days together. He was a good boy who was talented, hardworking, and polite. Teacher Hibiscus, I would like to take a leave. Huo Yuhao carefully looked at Mujin's face and kept a little distance from her to avoid angering her and suffering a strike. Well, a literal strike. Mujin looked at Huo Yuhao with a bit of amusement, not understanding why Huo Yuhao had such a big reaction just because he asked for leave. Could it be that a gentle and beautiful teacher like her would lose her composure because her students asked for leave for a small reason? How is it possible? Well, how many days do you want to take off? 1 month. Huo Yuhao said carefully. This time was calculated by him through the time in the original book, and then combined with the map and the estimated time in the past few days. It is still a relatively conservative number. Well, it's only a few days, Halfway through the words, Mujin felt something was wrong, turned her head and looked at Huo Yuhao, and her face was no longer smiling. How much did you say? 1 month. Facing Mujin's question, Huo Yuhao repeated it again, then closed his eyes and waited for the final judgment. After a long silence, Huo Yuhao looked up and saw a pure white hibiscus flower appeared in front of Mujin at some point, and 6 soul rings of yellow, purple, and black were circulating alternately under his body. Huo Yuhao, you little bastard, if you want to die, I will grant your wish. Chapter 31. Mujin glared at Huo Yuhao, and the murderous intent in her eyes was almost obvious. It can be said that if Huo Yuhao didn't give her a reasonable explanation, she would take action. Facing Mujin, who had already opened her martial spirit, Huo Yuhao also knew that this request was indeed a bit outrageous. It hasn't even been a month since he started school, and he's asking for a month off. Which teacher would understand this? If it were Zhou Yi in the original book, he would be expelled if he dared to say this. Teacher Mujin, don't worry. I have a reason for asking for leave. Listening to Huo Yuhao's explanation, Mujin reluctantly accepted it and put away her martial spirit, which made Huo Yuhao, who was feeling stressed, breathe a sigh of relief. Okay, come with me to the office first. If you don't give me a reasonable explanation, you'll be beaten. Mujin saw that the classmates around her were already gathering around, and finally decided to give Huo Yuhao a chance, and took Huo Yuhao to the office. Okay, tell me your reason. Mujin sat on a chair and looked at Huo Yuhao. She was about to take a sip of a teacup in her hand to relieve her dry mouth, but the next sentence Huo Yuhao said made her spit it out directly. I've upgraded to level 20, and I plan to hunt for the second soul ring. Puff. The tea that Mujin had just drunk spurted out directly. Fortunately, Huo Yuhao reacted in time to avoid it, but the green plants behind him were not so lucky and were irrigated directly. Are you sure you are right? Why do I remember that you seemed to be only level 15 when you first entered school? Mujin looked at Huo Yuhao, her eyes full of disbelief, and she didn't believe it at the first time. But according to her understanding of Huo Yuhao was not the kind of person who would make up such a low-level lie to skip classes, so this matter was very likely to be true. But how could this be possible? It has only been more than half a month since I enrolled, and it is too outrageous to be promoted by 5 levels? Yes, Teacher Mujin, I asked for leave this time because my teacher plans to take me to hunt souls. Huo Yuhao said, and in order to make everything go smoothly, he also planned to bring up Douluo. Who is your teacher? It's Douluo, the vice dean of the Soul Guidance Department you met last time. Mujin glanced at Huo Yuhao to make sure that his expression was not fake, then grabbed Huo Yuhao's wrist and sensed it. It turned out that he had reached the 20th level of soul power. Then why does soul hunting take so long? With Vice Dean Jian's strength, it wouldn't take half a month to go to the Stardo Great Forest to hunt souls and back, right? Hearing this, Huo Yuhao pretended to hesitate for a moment and said the words he had prepared long ago. This is related to my second martial soul. I need to go to the far north to hunt for soul rings. There are 2 reasons for saying this. One is to explain the importance of this time. I don't want Mujin to ask more questions, because the more lies you tell, the easier it is to be exposed. It will be more troublesome if you are exposed. The second reason is because I want Mujin to take this opportunity to let Douluo know about this matter. Yes, Huo Yuhao still plans to go alone this time, because it is really inconvenient for Douluo to follow. As for the safety issue, he is not too worried. Not to mention that his luck value is still very good now. If he really encounters danger, he can run to the One Piece world. There is also Electrolux to back him up, so he doesn't have to be afraid at all. Okay, since this is your secret, I won't ask more. I only have one request. When you come back, you can't slack off in your cultivation. And the freshman assessment in 3 months will be handed over to you. If you don't perform well at that time, I will make trouble for you. Okay, Teacher Mujin. Seeing that his goal was achieved, Huo Yuhao's mood also improved. He saluted Mujin in a weird way and ran away quickly. He also had to rush to the Soul Guidance Department to tell Douluo about the situation, and take some things from this cheap teacher for self-defense. This brat, he looks so good at ordinary times, but he is also a troublesome person. Mujin said, thinking of the scene in the freshman assessment later, she couldn't help but raise the corners of her mouth. Huo Yuhao is now so abnormal that he can face the 500-year-old Swift-Wind Wolf head-on. How strong will Huo Yuhao be when he is more than 20 levels and still has twin martial spirits? Thinking of Zhou Yi's face later, Mujin couldn't help but get excited. What she didn't know was that Huo Yuhao would give her a huge surprise at that time, and this surprise was not something that could be compared with a simple twin martial spirit. On the other side, Huo Yuhao, who had already walked out of the teaching building, came to the Soul Guidance Department. Xiao Yuhao, you are here so early. Hikata just walked in after dinner, and then saw Huo Yuhao and greeted him. In the past half-month, he has been leading Huo Yuhao to learn the basics of the Soul Guidance system, so it is not an exaggeration to say that the relationship between the two has made great progress. The main reason is that Douluo, as the vice dean, is too busy, so Huo Yuhao was handed over to Hikatu. Well, at least he said he was too busy. Well, brother where is Lao Deng? Huo Yuhao responded and then asked. After such a long time of getting along, Hikato also knew the meaning of some special words in Huo Yuhao's words, such as Lao Deng referring to Jian Duo. At first, he felt a little strange and felt that it was not good to call Dean Jian Duo like this. But Jian Duo didn't say anything, so he gradually got used to it. Old Vice President Jian is inside. Hikato replied subconsciously. Only after he finished speaking did he realize that he had said the wrong thing and quickly changed his words. Huo Yuhao glanced at Hikato with a half-smile and moved closer to him. Brother, please let me catch you. Hehe, this sentence is worth a second-level customized soul tool. Otherwise, I will tell Vice President Jian that you called him Lao Deng. Before the joke was finished, Jian Duo's voice came from inside. You bastard, what are you doing outside? Why don't you get back here quickly? Here we come, Lao Deng. After responding, Huo Yuhao walked into the experimental area. Jian Duo felt a little dizzy when he saw Huo Yuhao with a smile on his face. Why was he so obsessed with accepting this guy as his disciple? Made, at that time, I saw that this little bastard was good-looking, smart and a very talented spiritual soul master, so I accepted him as a registered disciple. But now I call him Lao Deng every day. I really don't respect him at all. Luo. Tell me, if you want to ask me for anything, you can't just provoke someone and ask me to wipe your ass, right? It's nothing, I just want to tell you that I am going to hunt for the second soul ring and I want to ask you for a leave. Push down a friend's book and read it if you like it. Under one person, Fan Ma Lu Jin, under one person. Author, 7 Books of Dreams. Introduction. He traveled through time and became Lu Jin, mastered the form of Fan Ma, and successfully deviated from the painting style of Trinity sect. Looking at the muscular men all over the mountain gate, Zhou Tong was disheveled in the wind. Is this still my handsome Trinity sect? What an evil disciple! Facing Zhang's highway who rolled up his sleeves, Lu Jin grinned. Senior brother Zhang, you can't knock me down with this slap. Wu Zhenzheng ran away when he saw him. I used the spirit of the gods and was knocked down by his punch. This guy can defeat me. Facing the evil bandits, he held the whispering words in his hand and said seriously, once they come, they will be safe. In order to save people, he broke into mission and faced off against the King of Thunder and Lightning. Shijian. I will never regret killing your son. Want to kill me? Just come. If you don't dare to kill me, get out. In order to ascend the dragon vein, he fought a decisive battle with the Onmyoji in Liaodong. These are all bullshit and snake gods, watch me punch and conquer my physical state. Facing the Japanese ninja who was quickly forming hand seals, Lu Jin clapped his palms vertically in front of his chest. How can the seal be such an inconvenient thing? Whatever you call comes, fire escape, samadhi true fire, break. Traveling thousands of miles, he encountered the legendary Fire Cloud Evil God on Hong Kong Island. He grabbed the old man's neck and lifted him up in the air. Is your name the Fire Cloud Evil God? In the Battle of Faith, he held the Taiping Tianwang Lu and faced a group of confused Vatican bishops. Chapter 32. Jian Duo put away his smile, looked at Huo Yuhao, and said seriously. Although he said he was disgusted, he was still quite satisfied with Huo Yuhao as his disciple. In more than half a month, he became a first-level soul mentor, and his foundation was extremely solid. He also provided them with many constructive ideas, but it was still in the initial stage with no substantial progress. For such an outstanding disciple, he naturally wanted to give Huo Yuhao a soul ring that met the limits, rather than a 10-year level soul ring like the first soul ring. Although the soul skills of this soul ring are a bit unbelievable. No need, Lao Deng, I'm just hunting for a century-old soul ring so I won't bother you. I told the head teacher and it has been arranged. Just give me some 8th level or 9th level soul tools for self-defense. I wouldn't mind giving me 10 or 8 of the 7th level ones. Jian Duo's face turned dark when he heard Huo Yuhao's lion opening his mouth. Sure enough, he shouldn't have given this little bastard a good look, and he immediately climbed up the pole. You think this is a vegetable market doing wholesale? There are only 17 or 18 items left, just 2 level 7 soul tools. Do you want them? Listening to Jian Duo's roar, Huo Yuhao had long been accustomed to making a fuss over Jian Duo, and just talked to him like a normal person. Teacher, you said you didn't give me any gifts after I became a disciple, right? And I won't bother you when I go hunting for souls this time. It doesn't matter if you give me some soul guides, right? An hour later, Huo Yuhao walked out of the soul guidance system with satisfaction. He already had 3 more 7th level soul guidance tools and 1 more 3rd level soul guidance device on his body. This was his spoils from just half an hour. It can be said that Huo Yuhao spent more than an hour to get these 4 soul tools. The reason why it is so difficult is not that Duo is stingy, but because advanced soul tools, except for some customized ones, require sufficient soul power to be used. Even if Duo gives Huo Yuhao will not be able to use them. And that kind of special soul tool, even if it costs a lot of money, it won't be much. The high-end soul tools suitable for Huo Yuhao are a level 7 automatic protection soul tool, and a level 7 explosive soul tool that doesn't require much soul power to be used. The protective soul guide can automatically defend when he is attacked, and can withstand up to 1 attack by a strong soul fighter. The power of an explosive soul guide when it explodes is equivalent to a full blow from Contra. The 3rd level 7 soul tool was given by Fan Yu, which Huo Yuhao knocked over with his shamelessness. It can be used to help escape. Within 10 minutes, no Contra who is not proficient in speed can catch up with him. It is a powerful escape weapon. As for the 3rd level soul tool, it took Huo Yuhao a long time to grind it out. It can create a constant temperature space. In this constant temperature space, the temperature can be automatically adjusted according to the user's wishes, but it requires the consumption of soul power. Huo Yuhao had been eyeing this soul tool for a long time in order to go to the far north. A few days ago, he had asked indirectly about how much money there was. It can be said that with these things around, unless he encounters a 100,000-year soul beast, he will have a chance to run away. After walking out of Shrek Academy, he had already packed up his things at home, so there was no need to go back and he walked directly out of the city. Outside Shrek City, on a small road, a steel creature that looked like a tricycle was walking slowly on the road. A boy who looked to be 12 or 13 years old was sitting in the driver's seat, and there was a chubby silkworm on his shoulder. Xiao Yuhao, this soul guide of yours is really convenient, but it can't drive automatically and it consumes a lot of money. Tianmeng Bingkan put her body on Huo Yuhao's shoulders and looked at the scenery passing by. There is no other way. Now it is my limit to transform the tricycle into a 2nd level soul guide. For it, I spent more than 600 points of luck power to come up with such a semi-finished product. Huo Yuhao explained helplessly. According to his idea, the tricycle under the seat should be equipped with a device similar to solar energy or a device that directly absorbs soul power for movement. But he spent more than 600 pieces of luck and struggled for more than a week and still couldn't perfect it, so he had to give up the idea of perfection and make do with it. The main reason is that he still has to leave some luck power in case of emergencies. Otherwise, he is worried that the large fluctuations in luck will affect the operations in the far north. This thing of yours is indeed good. If it were thrown into my world and driven by an energy body, it would definitely be an epic-making creation. In Huo Yuhao's Sea of Consciousness, Electrolux said. After half a month of recovery and the nourishment of Huo Yuhao's luck, his soul had partially recovered. Although he still couldn't use much power, he could speak freely and would not fall into a deep sleep. Yuhao, just call me when you get to the far north, and I'll sleep a little longer. Tianmeng Bing Silkworm had only been outside for a short time before he wanted to go back to sleep. Although he has now made up for the mental energy consumed in the past few days, he has also made a unilateral agreement with Electrolux not to violate the river. He has become even more lethargic now, often not speaking a word for days unless necessary. Because now Huo Yuhao's practice is being watched by Electrolux, otherwise he would go out to protect him. Okay, Brother Tianmeng, if nothing goes wrong, I should be able to reach the far north in just 1 week. I'll call you after we reach the far north. As Huo Yuhao spoke, Alex in the Sea of Consciousness also fell into silence. Only Huo Yuhao was left sitting in the car and moving forward. A week later, Huo Yuhao got off the car. At this time, he was already wearing enough warm clothes. The fully charged constant temperature space soul guide was also ready, and it was ready to be activated at any time, just like the life-saving soul guide given by Fan Yu. As for the defensive soul guide, it has not been taken off since leaving Shrek City. Looking at the snow and ice in front of him, Huo Yuhao shuddered. Only when you really come to this world can you feel how shocking the power of heaven and earth in the fantasy world is. The endless glaciers, the falling snowflakes, and the scattered low-level soul beasts make this place look like a dream. And in such a dreamlike place, I don't know how many human lives have been buried. Xiao Yuhao, follow my instructions from now on. Do whatever I tell you to do without any hesitation, Tianmeng I Silkworm said, but Alex in the depths of the sea of consciousness spoke. Big Bug, do you want to take this little guy with you to die? Recommended my friend's book, if you like it, you can read it. Chat group, my group members are all wrong. Introduction, the system that has been silent for 10 years finally responded. Seeing familiar names entering the group one by one. Lin Chen has already thought about how to fool them all, but why are there two Xiao Yans? 3-year appointment, above Yunlin sect. Ha 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 ha, didn't expect it, Xiao Yan, I'm back again. This time I'll come and block your door. And Xiao Yan just looked at him and smiled faintly, then Emperor-level fighting skills. Possessed by a ghost. Hey! Isn't this Emperor Hun Tian? I haven't seen you for a long time, why is he so lame? Tokyo Hongjing. Ha 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 ha, my plan, succeeded. Lu Mingfei spread his hands helplessly, didn't anyone tell you that villains die because of talking too much? Douluo God Realm, watching Huo Yuhao approaching step by step, Tang San collapsed on the ground powerlessly, just about to beg for mercy, and then heard a voice. You dare to breathe? You already have a way to die. Lin Chen looked at the abnormal group members one by one, forced to play badly. Why? Why are they so normal every time they enter the group? As long as I pretend to be cool, there will be problems. I just want to pretend once. My group members are all wrong. Chapter 33. Electrolux, who was living in the sea of Huo Yuhao's consciousness, said this. Huo Yuhao and Tianmeng Bingxi were stunned for a moment. They didn't know why Electrolux suddenly said this. There are no less than 10 powerful beings that I sensed here alone. Some of them can even be compared with the old man from Shrek Academy. The other two are only slightly weaker. In our current situation, if we go in, we will either die or die. What? As Electrolux spoke, he actually manifested spiritual power from the outside world to condense his body. The condensed body is not the image of an old man, but the image of a young man with golden lines on his forehead, white hair, and black eyes. What do you mean, you old man? How could I harm you? How? Tianmeng I Silkworm flew into the air and glared at Electrolux's soul body, confronting him, but the image difference between his appearance and Electrolux was a bit too big. Oh? Do you have any trump cards that can resist such a strong person? Electrolux raised his eyes slightly, and the golden pattern on his forehead actually reflected the luster in the sunlight. He looked at Tianmeng Bing's icon with a joyless expression and asked, his voice was still so old, completely consistent with his own image. Doesn't match. With Electrolux's eyesight, it is natural to see that Tianmeng I Silkworm is an empty shell at this time. There is nothing commendable except for the relatively huge mental power now. Not to mention fighting those 3 beings in the far north, even Huo Yuhao's class teacher would be tough enough to win. This made him doubt Tianmen's motives. Of course I do. Tianmeng Bing Silkworm immediately exploded when faced with Electrolux's doubts. When he retorted, he just seemed a little lacking in confidence. Although he said it in an affirmative sentence, his tone gave him away. At this moment, Electrolux suddenly looked into the depths of the far north. The extremely high level of spiritual power and the nourishment of the power of luck allowed him to faintly feel the strange movements in the depths of the far north. Huo Yuhao's heart was also throbbing. He felt that the power of luck was fluctuating extremely violently, and his eyes were looking at the same place as Electrolux. The difference is that Electrolux's consciousness has indeed recovered somewhat, but he can only vaguely feel something moving in the distance. However, Huo Yuhao was able to use the power of luck to look through the endless glaciers, through the wind and snow, and see a glacier valley. In the glacier valley over there is an ice cocoon exuding a terrifying aura, and the surrounding aura is constantly being absorbed by it and then discharged. Outside the ice valley, there was a line of 4 figures hiding outside. This situation made Huo Yuhao naturally think of the incident of the Snow Emperor, one of the 3 kings of the far north. The Snow Emperor chose to transform because after surviving the 700,000 year catastrophe, he felt that he could no longer resist the catastrophe that followed. But he happened to be captured by people from the Star Luo Empire and sealed with the god-conferring platform. Big Chongzi, is what happened over there the reason why you came here? Electrolux looked into the distance, his old voice filled with confusion. He could sense that the energy of the strongest being in the far north was dissipating in that place, and then associated it with the special system of this world, so he felt that this was the reason why Tianmeng Iceworm brought Huo Yuhao to this place. If the soul ring or soul bone left by that kind of strong person can be absorbed by Xiao Yuhao, then it is indeed worth taking the risk. But Big Bug, are you sure that Xiao Yuhao can fuse it? Electrolux asked. That kind of strong man is on the same level as the old man who acts as a guard in Shrek Academy. If there is anything left behind, if Tianmeng is still sure that it can benefit Huo Yuhao, it will definitely make Huo Yuhao's growth smoother. The premise is that Tianmeng has the ability to let Huo Yuhao digest the harvest. The one who responded to Electrolux was Tianmeng Bingxi's face full of questions. Until now, he still hasn't figured out what happened, and he doesn't know why the two of them excluded him as the initiator of the plan as if they had agreed. Yulao, this matter should be different from what Brother Tianmeng thought. It may be an emergency. When Electrolux asked, Huo Yuhao responded. Yulao didn't know, but he knew. The purpose of Tianmeng Iceworm's trip is not the Snow Emperor, but the Ice Emperor. That's right. How could this big bug be capable of this? Xiao Yuhao, do you know the existence inside? Electrolux also reacted, and Tianmeng Ice Silkworm did not look like the kind of being with far-reaching plans. What are you talking about? Why can't I understand? Tianmeng Bingxi was stunned. He looked at Electrolux and Huo Yuhao and said, wasn't he the one who suggested coming here this time? Isn't he coming to find the lovely Bing Bing? How could it be that he was an outsider? Brother Tianmeng also knows this person. He is the strongest of the three ferocious beasts in the far north. His name is Snow Emperor, and his true form is the Ice and Snow Girl. Huo Yuhao said, but before Electrolux could say anything, Tianmeng Iceworm screamed in surprise. Xiao Yuhao, are you crazy? That's the Snow Emperor, with 700,000 years of cultivation. How dare you try to trick him? The screams of Tianmeng Ice Silkworm were particularly eye-catching in the ice and snow. Although he didn't know what the two were talking about, the name of Snow Emperor could be said to stimulate him. Unlike him, who has a puffy and million-year cultivation, the Snow Emperor has a real cultivation of 700,000 years. He can crush them to death with just one finger. Brother Tianmeng, it's not me who wants to take advantage of her, but someone else wants to take advantage of her, and she has chosen to transform into a human. How is that possible? Hearing what Huo Yuhao said, Tianmeng Ice Silkworm instinctively didn't believe it. In his mind, how could the strongest person in the far north, such as the Snow Emperor, choose to transform into a human? But he seemed to have thought of something when he was halfway through his words and fell silent. It seems that it is not impossible, or it is precisely because of this reason that all soul beasts have that he came to find the Ice Emperor, otherwise, with his current strength, how could he dare to take advantage of the Ice Emperor? Ilex saw that Tianmeng Ice Silkworm was silent, but Huo Yuhao seemed to be thinking about something, and asked, Xiao Yuhao, it seems that you should know a lot of things. Elder Yi, Brother Tianmeng, I have a feeling that if I go there and succeed, my luck power will increase a lot. Huo Yuhao said, looking at Tianmeng Ice Silkworm and Ilex. As time went by, the feeling became stronger. The golden ball of luck in his mind kept jumping, and his luck power kept increasing. Obviously, he was at a crossroads in his life, and making a decision would change his original destiny. Master Yi, Brother Tianmeng, I want to try. Chapter 34. At this time, in the Glacier Valley, a middle-aged man wearing a guild robe spoke to the leader with suppressed excitement. Well, be careful. If we provoke the three kings of the far north this time, it may affect our actions. The leader, Xing Guanduo, Su Jiaoyi, who is also the current emperor of the Xingdou Empire, reminded. This time he received a reminder from the Star Crown, which allowed him to find a human soul beast that was 100,000 years old. This was undoubtedly an opportunity that could reverse the current situation on the mainland. It was precisely for this reason that he called in four titled Douluo, including himself, to ensure the smooth implementation of this plan. Level 91 Giant Power Douluo Cheng Gang. 94th level Tianxia Douluo Huang Jingsu. The 96th level Broken Star Douluo Liuxing and himself, the 92nd level Star Crown Douluo Su Jiaoyi. With their strength, even if they really encountered one of the three great northern kings, they would be able to escape unscathed. Your Majesty, this soul beast is about to transform. Broken Star Douluo at the front suddenly said. Because he has the highest level and his martial spirit is very suitable for hiding, he stayed close to observe the situation. Hearing this, the four people present held their breath and waited quietly. As time passed by, the wind and snow between the sky and the earth became stronger and stronger. At the moment when cracks appeared in the ice cocoon, Su Jiaoyi shouted, "Do it!" The four of them rushed forward in unison. Broken Star Douluo sealed the space, and the flying snow in the sky seemed to freeze at this moment. Julie Douluo was guarding the outside, alert to the intrusion of soul beasts around. Tianxia Douluo was flying in the sky, observing the surrounding environment. Su Jiaoyi activated the Star Crown Martial Spirit to suppress the ice cocoon, and activated the conferred God platform to capture the Snow Emperor. A series of actions are all completed within 3 seconds. After a while, the flying snow in the sky fell again, as if nothing had happened. Even the movement the four people had just made was obscured by the wind and snow, and the entire glacier valley returned to its original appearance. Your Majesty, is this the transformed 100,000-year-old soul beast? Cheng Gang looked at the white airflow sealed by the conferred God platform, and stretched out his hand to touch it. He has grown to the current level of titled Douluo. He has never seen even a 100,000-year soul beast, let alone the transformed 100,000-year soul beast. Naturally, he is very curious at this moment. But as soon as he stretched out his hand, someone laughed at him. Okay, you idiot, don't damage the God-conferring stage. Otherwise, if the 100,000-year-old soul beast dies, none of us will be able to absorb the soul ring, which will be a huge loss. Broken Star Douluo said with a smile, attracting everyone's agreement. Obviously, achieving the purpose of this trip made them feel very good. TCH, how can I casually destroy the 9th level Soul Guide's God-conferring platform? Cheng Gang, who was laughed at by everyone, said something. Even though he said this, he still stopped what he was doing. Suddenly, the flying snow in the sky seemed to freeze, and an angry and cold voice sounded. The bone-piercing ice cold made several people feel as if their blood was freezing. You humans are really brave to dare to come to our far north to hunt for souls. As the words fell, the sky was filled with ice and snow, and a huge scorpion appeared in front of everyone. Scorpion's body is as pure as ice jade, and a long turquoise tail at the end shows her identity as Ice Jade Scorpion, or the Ice Emperor, Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion, one of the 3 kings of the far north. Ice Jade Scorpion, 5th stage of Scorpion Tail, this is 400,000 years of cultivation, he is the Ice Emperor. Damn! Why did the Ice Emperor appear here? Just when everyone was shocked, 3 people a few kilometers away from here, no, to be more precise, it should be 1 person, 1 soul body, and 1 silkworm, watching everything happening in the valley on a high glacier. This person is none other than Huo Yuhao and the others. Xiao Yuhao, let's just say it. My relationship with Bing Bing is very good. She will come to me as long as I show my presence. Well, yes, you're right. Facing the boastful Tianmeng, Huo Yuhao did not reveal his thoughts, but followed the words. But Tianmeng Bingxi's confident look really frightened Electrolux. Although Big Bug is not very strong and his brain is not very good, he still has enough mental strength and energy. It is reasonable to have a few strong friends. Electrolux's soul said expressionlessly, feeling somewhat impressed by Tianmeng Iceworm. Originally, he thought that Tianmeng Ice Silkworm was just a big fleshy insect with no use whatsoever, but now it seems that it is of some use. These words could be said to make Tianmeng Ice Silkworm happy, and the 2 tentacles on the top of its head kept shaking. But Huo Yuhao on the side was holding back his laughter and felt uncomfortable. This doesn't mean he has many connections. Isn't it because Ice Emperor is reluctant to part with Tianmeng, a large power bank? Fortunately, what Electrolux said later freed Huo Yuhao, otherwise he would have been really afraid that he would accidentally dismantle Tianmeng Bingkan. Yuhao, are you ready? The fight over there is almost over. No matter how long it takes, the nights will be long and the dreams will be endless. Electrolux said. Huo Yuhao also followed his gaze and looked towards the valley. Over there, the Ice Emperor was fighting for titled Douluo. In fact, it was mainly the 95-level Heartbreaker Douluo and the 94th level Tianxia Douluo who were fighting the Ice Emperor. The giant strength Douluo played a more auxiliary role. Facing the Ice Emperor who had cultivated for 390,000 years, the role he could play was minimal, even lower than that of the Star Crown Douluo Su Jiaoyi. But at least there were 4 of them, and they could still be on par with the Ice Emperor for a while. This was exactly the opportunity Huo Yuhao had been waiting for. Well, I'm ready. This time I'll have to trouble Elder Yi and Brother Tianmeng. Huo Yuhao said, and was about to put on the silkworm slough that Tianmeng had prepared long ago, ready to go to the valley to complete the plan. Hearing Huo Yuhao's words, Alex took the lead and went directly back to Huo Yuhao's sea of consciousness. In the next plan, he would be responsible for providing Huo Yuhao with mental power, and try to preserve the soul of the Snow Emperor to make it Huo Yuhao's second martial soul, and attach the first soul ring. Because this plan was just a preliminary, it took less than half a day from the idea to the preparation for implementation, so he was still under a lot of pressure. However, as an expert in playing with souls, Alex was still somewhat confident about this, and at the very least, he could save Huo Yuhao's life. Only Tianmeng Ice Silkworm hesitated, wanting to say something but unable to. Huo Yuhao naturally knew what Tianmeng was hesitating about. It was nothing more than letting Snow Emperor become his second martial soul, so what about Ice Emperor? Brother Tianmeng, Snow Emperor has become my first spirit ring, so can I still let Ice Emperor become my second spirit ring? Chapter 35. Yes, there is no conflict between the two, but Huo Yuhao's physical strength is definitely not strong enough to bear it. But it doesn't matter. After training in the pirate world, Huo Yuhao's physical strength has been much higher. If the absorbed Snow Emperor is used as the second martial soul, and a few more layers of seals are added, and then the soul bone is used to increase the physical strength, maybe it can be done. Even if Huo Yuhao, who is only at level 20, can't do it, Huo Yuhao who is at level 30, 40 or even 50 will definitely be able to do it. And based on the relationship between the Snow Emperor and the Ice Emperor, the Snow Emperor has become Huo Yuhao's martial spirit, and the Ice Emperor will definitely be willing to become Huo Yuhao's wisdom spirit ring. At the same time, with the Snow Emperor and Ice Emperor around, his god-making plan will only go more smoothly. After figuring it out, Tianmeng finally no longer hesitated and entered Huo Yuhao's sea of consciousness. Next, he will be responsible for covering up Huo Yuhao's aura, and controlling his own body to protect Huo Yuhao's safety, while trying to communicate with the Snow Emperor. As the plan began, Huo Yuhao began to move towards the valley. Because the two places were not far apart, with the help of Yu Tianmeng, Huo Yuhao traveled very quickly, and soon arrived at the glacier valley. Yuhao, you have to be careful. Although the slough can protect you from harm in the aftermath, if the slough is damaged, your aura may leak and be discovered. Tianmeng Binkan reminded from the sea of consciousness. Huo Yuhao nodded and did not speak. Because the battle ahead was too fierce, even the aftermath of the battle made it extremely difficult for him to avoid. It can be said that if it weren't for Tianmeng's protection, he wouldn't even have the ability to get close to the battlefield. At this time, the battle in the valley has entered a fierce stage. Su Jiaoyi looked at the mighty Ice Emperor in front of him, and he already had the intention of retreating. As the second strongest being among the three kings of the far north, the Ice Emperor's combat prowess is indeed worthy of this title. He was able to fight against 4 titled Douluo by himself, one of whom was a level 95 super Douluo, so he was very powerful. If at first Su Jiaoyi and the 4 of them had the idea of gaining more by killing the Ice Emperor, now they are thinking about how to escape smoothly. The main reason is because this is the home ground of the Ice King. They are worried that if they continue to fight, they will attract other strong men from the far north, so they really want to set up here. Your Majesty, the conferred god platform cannot be stored in the Space Soul Guide yet. You go first, and we will cut it off for you and come back later. Star-shattering Douluo, who was flying in the sky, took advantage of the opportunity to defeat the Ice Emperor and said to Su Jiaoyi. Su Jiaoyi also knew that now was not the time to hesitate, so he nodded and wanted to leave. The other 3 titled Douluo also approached the Ice Emperor, trying to create an opportunity for Su Jiaoyi to leave the battlefield. When the Ice Emperor saw that these people were still unwilling to give up the idea of killing her soul beast in the far north, he suddenly became furious. You humans deserve to be damned. Cursing angrily, the Ice Emperor let out a sharp neigh. This scream resounded throughout the sky, but it was not to vent anger, let alone to intimidate the enemy, but to summon fellow tribesmen, and even more to summon the strong men from the far north. Hearing this neighing, Su Jiaoyi and the others' expressions became even uglier, but now they can't even retreat. Just because the Ice Emperor is really trying his best right now. At this moment, the Ice Emperor's claws were covered with ice crystals, and the entire valley was covered with astonishing cold air. On the other side, seeing that the Ice Emperor was getting serious and the entire valley was covered in cold air, he could only give up the idea of leaving alone. Somewhat reluctantly, he placed the conferred god platform containing the Snow Emperor on the open space. Because the conferred god platform had just sealed the Snow Emperor, it was still unstable and could not be contained in the Space Soul Guide. Facing the Ice Emperor who was attacking with all his strength, he also knew that the matter could not be resolved. Let's go all out and kill this big scorpion. Even if we can't catch him alive, we can still make 200,000-year soul bones. One of them is the Ice Emperor's soul bone, which is already a huge profit. Su Jiaoyi said as he prepared to attack with all his might with the other three titled Douluo. The intensity of the battle heated up again. Both sides entered a desperate state, but the Ice Emperor was at a disadvantage, because as a soul beast, even if the Ice Emperor had a higher cultivation level, his trump card was much worse than that of several titled Douluo. In their desperate efforts, several titled Douluo even used their soul guides. But although Su Jiaoyi and the others had the upper hand in the head-on battle, their situation was getting worse and worse. Just because as time goes by, more and more powerful soul beasts are surrounding them, and now the 100,000-year-old Ice Jade Scorpion is coming. Even the other one of the three kings of the far north, the Titan Snow Demon King, is on his way. What the few people fighting did not notice was that at the edge of the battlefield, a figure appeared for a moment and then disappeared. Also disappearing with him was the conferring god platform containing the Snow Emperor. The Ice Emperor's green eyes turned red when he sensed the disappearance of the aura of his kind, and the temperature in the valley dropped even more horribly. If you guys run away with the soul beast, won't the Snow Emperor be very disappointed in me? And doesn't that guy like the Titan Snow Demon King have no ears? He's been beaten for so long and he still can't get over it. The Ice Emperor thought to himself. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became, especially when she thought of the disappointed look on her face by the Snow Emperor and the ridicule of the Titan Snow Demon King after he found out. It drove her into madness. The Ice Emperor, who had entered a state of madness, no longer dodged when faced with the attacks of several titled Douluo, but instead adopted a strategy of trading life. After all, the physical strength of soul beasts of the same level is stronger than that of humans. The Ice Emperor dared to exchange his life with them, but they did not dare to exchange their lives with the Ice Emperor. For a while, they were really beaten to a miserable state. At this time, in the pirate world, Huo Yuhao excitedly put Tianmen's remains into the sea of consciousness. In front of him, a platform with a light golden shield shone brightly under the reflection of the sun. The airflow that kept hitting the edge of the conferred god platform was also particularly clear. Brother Tianmeng, can't you contact the Snow Emperor? Huo Yuhao asked Tianmeng Ice Silkworm, who was still in the sea of consciousness. No, the blockade of this conferred god platform is too strong. My mental power can't get in at all, so naturally I can't communicate with the Snow Emperor. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm was also helpless. Even with his magnificent mental power, he couldn't penetrate the conferred god platform to communicate with the Snow Emperor inside. If they had to communicate, they could only destroy the conferred god platform. But if they destroyed the conferred god platform, with the strength of the Snow Emperor, they would have no way to resist. You should know that in the original novel, even if Xue De gave up recultivation, she could fight Jing Hongchen and Du Buletin Si with only one-third of her cultivation. Although Jing Hongchen and Du Buletin Si did not fight with all their strength, it was still terrifying enough. It would make no difference if Huo Yuhao was crushed to death by one finger a dozen times. If it were me, I would just kill first and report later. Xiao Yuhao directly refined her body into an undead spirit and merged her origin with her. She would have no choice but to surrender. Chapter 36. Electrolux, who had been silent in the sea of consciousness, said. He had just been thinking about how to let Huo Yuhao successfully merge with the Snow Emperor, and now he finally thought of it. Huo Yuhao gave him an idea before the plan started, which was to let the fused soul beast retain its consciousness and host its soul in a martial spirit or a soul ring. This method is not difficult, and it is very easy based on his control over the soul. The only difficulty is whether Snow Emperor is willing to cooperate. And if one pursues the safest method, it is definitely the most cost-effective way to become an undead, but this will dissipate the Snow Emperor's consciousness. Electrolux said, projecting his consciousness to the outside world and looking at the Snow Emperor who was trapped in the conferred god platform. I don't know if he felt the malice from Electrolux, but the frequency of the Snow Emperor's collision with the conferred god platform became faster. Can the Snow Emperor still have independent consciousness like this? Huo Yuhao asked. If possible, he still wanted Snow Emperor to keep his soul intact. Not to mention what kind of person the Snow Emperor is in the original work, from a purely profit perspective, it would be a good thing for the Snow Emperor if he could have independent consciousness. Because the Snow Emperor is here, the Ice Emperor will also be able to speak better. Otherwise, if he really did something to the Snow Emperor, the Ice Emperor would not be able to become his soul ring so easily. No more. How can you still have a sense of autonomy after becoming an undead? Electrolux turned his head and looked at Huo Yuhao strangely, and said matter-of-factly. Huo Yuhao and Tianmeng Bingxi were speechless after saying this. Although what Electrolux said made sense, Huo Yuhao and Tianmeng were still a little confused by his confident speech. Yulao, do you have any other plans? Huo Yuhao asked. He didn't want to wipe out the Snow Emperor's consciousness unless he had to. At this time, Tianmeng, who had been standing aside, spoke. Why don't you let me try? As Tianmeng Bingxi said, he once again took out his body from the sea of consciousness, and also revealed his soul body to the outside world. My relic is the most powerful weapon that the soul beast can produce in the Douluo world. It can definitely control the Snow Emperor. Then we can persuade her. If it doesn't work, old man, you can do it again. Huo Yuhao's eyes lit up after hearing this. After waiting for so long, Tianmeng Bingxi was finally willing to say this. He naturally knew how Tianmeng restrained the Ice Emperor in the original work, but he just kept waiting because he couldn't reveal how he knew. At the same time, I also believe that Tianmeng will think clearly about the pros and cons. Big Bug, are you sure you can trap her? Electrolux asked, and after seeing Tianmeng Iceworm still nodding confidently, he agreed to give it a try. Since you have confidence, it's good. If it doesn't work, I can only run away with Xiao Yuhao. Electrolux raised his eyes slightly, revealing a little of his majestic mental power. Even before he started planning for the far north, Huo Yuhao spent most of his last 500 luck points in order to make the trip smooth. Most of them were used to restore Yi Lao's soul power, and some were used temporarily. Increase Huo Yuhao's luck and make the next plan smooth. With about 300 points of luck power added, Electrolux's soul power has also recovered to less than half. It is indeed impossible to fight against the Snow Emperor, but it is still possible to save Huo Yuhao's life from the Snow Emperor. After agreeing on some details, Huo Yuhao, with the help of Tianmeng, found an uninhabited island more than 10 nautical miles away from this island. This was because he was afraid that if the plan failed and he ran away, the Snow Emperor would vent his anger on the people of Kokozia village. After arriving at this uninhabited island, Huo Yuhao lowered the conferred god platform. Xiao Yuhao, are you ready? Huo Yuhao nodded, and Tianmeng Iceworm immediately mobilized the energy of the 9 golden rings in Huo Yuhao's sea of consciousness. That was the last resort he left behind, and it was originally prepared for the Ice Emperor like the issue. But the plan couldn't keep up with the changes, and now the victim has changed from the Ice Emperor to the Snow Emperor. Electrolux also looked at the scene with all his concentration. If anything went wrong, he would take Huo Yuhao away from this place of right and wrong. As Tianmeng gathered together, Huo Yuhao, who was one with Tianmeng to a certain extent, also felt omnipotent. Huo Yuhao was fascinated by the feeling of powerful mental power covering everything. This feeling allowed Huo Yuhao to experience the sense of dominance in his sea of consciousness in the real world. His spiritual eye martial soul was released unconsciously, and a bright white soul ring suddenly appeared under his feet, and then quickly changed color. It changed from the original bright white to light gold, and then to bright gold again. After a while, Xiao Yuhao, it's okay. Get ready, Tianmeng Iceworm quickly reminded. As the words fell, balls of light flew out from Huo Yuhao's eyebrows. After each ball of light flew out, Huo Yuhao felt a little weaker, and the feeling of omnipotence gradually weakened. After 9 balls of light flew out in a row, Huo Yuhao felt a little better. Holding back the discomfort, Huo Yuhao began to move and opened a hole in the conferred god platform. You despicable human beings who are born evil, go to hell, all of you. As soon as the hole was opened, a female voice filled with murderous intent sounded out. Then endless cold air came down, turning the entire uninhabited island into a world of ice and snow, and the ocean outside the island was also frozen. This cold air only lasted for a moment, and the constant temperature space soul guide on Huo Yuhao's body broke, and the chill on his back came over him, and Huo Yuhao couldn't help shivering. Fortunately, this cold air only lasted for a moment and disappeared. At the same time, the female voice that stopped halfway through the words disappeared. Because the Snow Emperor had been bound by Tianmen's remains, let alone speaking, even moving was a difficult task. At this time, in a sea area far away from the 5-person island, a strong man wearing a cloak of justice was lying on a lounge chair on a warship and taking a nap in the sun. A huge snot bubble at the tip of his nose expanded and shrank with his breathing. Suddenly, the strong man suddenly woke up as if he had felt something, sat up, and looked at the sea in the distance with some strangeness. There is a powerful force that is familiar to him, but the person who possesses this power should still be in the Navy headquarters at this moment, and it is absolutely impossible for him to appear here, so where does that icy power come from? Bogart, turn around and head over there. I believe everyone should have guessed who this Navy is, hehe, guess how he will appear, I feel that you should not be able to guess it. Chapter 37. Okay Snow Emperor, stop scolding, what's the use of just scolding, you can't hit me. You are a human lackey, a soul beast traitor, damn you, even if I come out and kill you 1,000 times, it won't be enough. No, but you can't get out either. Tianmen's ears were about to get calluses when he heard the angry curses. It is true that Snow Emperor's vocabulary is a little lacking, and he only speaks these few words over and over again, which are not clear enough. His spiritual connection with Tianmeng is intermittent, so Tianmeng Bingxi can't feel anything when he hears it. Snow Emperor, you see that you have chosen to transform into a human being, so why don't you just become a being like me? You can become a god. The conscious body of Tianmeng Bing Silkworm was lying on the grass, its chubby body rolled twice on the grass, and she said in a bored tone. Ever since the Snow Emperor was sealed by him with his sludge, Tianmeng Iceworm has been responsible for persuading the Snow Emperor to join the train to become a god. Huo Yuhao is practicing on the side. His Xian Tian Kong is about to reach its peak, and he is currently working hard. Electrolux has returned to the Sea of Consciousness because Huo Yuhao gave him a new research route, and continues to perfect the soul creation method mentioned by Huo Yuhao. He already had a preliminary idea about this, but he had no idea about Huo Yuhao's method of letting the soul beast's body also reside in the soul ring to coexist with the soul master, and could be summoned at any time. This was also a concept that Huo Yuhao came up with after hearing what Electrolux said about the creation of undead. Electrolux was also very interested in this. The Tianmeng Ice Silkworm, who was responsible for persuading the Snow Emperor to surrender, was completely bored. More than an hour has passed now, and Snow Emperor is like a stone, unable to communicate at all. No matter what you say, she doesn't answer, she just hits you blindly. The consciousness she occasionally conveys is not clear, and most of them are insults and threats. Haha, become a god, why do you guarantee that you will become a god? Shui Emperor, what are you doing? Tianmeng Bingshen subconsciously wanted to reply according to the original words, but then he noticed that Snow Emperor had calmed down and what he said was different from before, and he suddenly became energetic. Snow Emperor, how many thousands of years have you cultivated? Tianmeng Iceworm asked before she flew to the shed, but as soon as he finished speaking, he was interrupted by the Snow Emperor. Big Bug, if you keep talking nonsense, then we don't need to talk. Even though the aura was completely sealed, there was still a feeling of coldness coming from the consciousness of Tianmeng Ice Silkworm and the Snow Emperor. Tianmeng, who was shocked, seemed to have no temper at all. He chuckled and explained his plan to the Snow Emperor in detail. The soul beast will experience a divine punishment every 100,000 years. Only by surviving the divine punishment can it have a chance to survive. Otherwise, the body will die and the soul will disappear. But human beings are different. For detailed plans, please see the comments section. There are too many words that are repeated in the original work. Tianmeng Bingshen told all the approximate reasons for his plan in one breath, but the Snow Emperor was still a little cold. So, why do you think you will be able to successfully create a god? Facing the pie painted by Tianmeng Bingxi, the Snow Emperor, who had recovered from the chaotic state, did not eat it. Because from Tianmeng Bingken's mouth, she only heard fantasy without much substantive content. Maybe Huo Yuhao had the qualifications to become a god with their help, but it wasn't enough for her to risk everything she had on it. Because as a snow girl who had cultivated for 700,000 years, she had the qualifications to become a god when she transformed into a human being. She only ended up in this situation because of being plotted by these damn humans. Because of me, Tianmeng Iceworm, who has cultivated for 1,000,000 years, and you, the Snow Emperor, who has cultivated for 700,000 years. It's not enough. If it's just this, it's not enough to interrupt me, because it's not as high as the chance of me becoming a god after transforming into an adult. Snow Emperor said confidently, this was her pride as the strongest of the three northern kings. Snow Emperor, haven't you noticed that we are no longer in the Douluo continent? In other words, haven't you noticed that we are no longer in the original world? Are the big bugs joking? Although trapped in the shed, Snow Emperor could still feel a little bit of the outside world through the consciousness transmitted by Tianmeng. At first she thought it was somewhere in the human world, but according to what Tianmeng Gang said, this was another world? I'm not kidding you. Xiao Yuhao, my host, has the ability to travel to other worlds. This is no longer the Douluo world. So, is that enough now, Snow Emperor? After Tianmeng Binkan finished speaking, the Snow Emperor did not respond immediately, and the scene fell silent. Seeing that the Snow Emperor did not respond for a long time, Tianmeng Bingxi used his mental power to control a small wooden stick and poked the remains. Big insect, if you want to die, I will help you. Hey, didn't I think you were asleep? Emperor Snow, what are your thoughts? Do I have any other choice? Emperor Shui's tone has obviously softened. Obviously, the bargaining chip Tianmeng mentioned has reached the psychological expectation of Emperor Shui. Indeed not, because even if you don't agree, I still have many ways for you how to obtain your soul ring and soul bones for the plan of becoming a god. But with your consent, our journey to becoming a god will be smoother. Tianmeng Binkan said that the two sides have almost reached an agreement, and in order for Shui to understand her situation in the future, Tianmeng directly told the situation of both sides to avoid Shui's failure to make clear the positions of both sides, which would be bad in the future. Although the possibility is very small, he still said it. Shui in the remains was obviously a little angry, but she did not get angry. Because she also knew that she was now a lamb on the chopping board, and even if she did not agree, she would only die. In fact, Shui had already tried to break free from the shackles of the remains, and it was obvious that she did not succeed. As the last relic of a million-year soul beast, the remains of Tianmeng Binkan are indeed worthy of what he said about the highest output of soul beasts. According to Shui's estimation, even with her 700,000 years of cultivation, it would be difficult to break this remains. This is the main reason why she chose to compromise. Yuhao, come quickly, the plan is complete. Seeing that Shui was willing to join the plan, Tianmeng immediately called Huo Yuhao who was practicing. Huo Yuhao, who had been waiting for a long time, exhaled a breath of turbid air and opened his eyes. The joy in his eyes was obvious. Perhaps because of the bad weather in the far north, he practiced Xiantian Gong much faster. According to his estimation, he would be able to reach the pinnacle of Xiantian Gong after practicing with the power of luck for 3 more days at most. Then he could see how the luck upgraded technique worked. At this moment, when he heard Tianmeng say that he had convinced Shui, Huo Yuhao's eyes were filled with even more joy. Chapter 38. His physique is pretty good among humans of the same level, but how can he withstand the power of you and me? The Snow Emperor, who was still in the process of shedding his body, followed Tianmeng's consciousness and glanced at Huo Yuhao's body with some confusion. In his perception, Huo Yuhao's physical strength may be good among humans of the same age, but it is undoubtedly impossible to withstand their power. Now she felt a little bit like Tianmeng was cheating on her. It's okay Snow Emperor, as long as you are willing to cooperate, it will be easy to add a few more seals according to my method. Okay, Snow Emperor, you are ready to release your spiritual origin. Tianmeng Bingxi said, controlling the slough to reveal a small hole, and at the same time paying full attention to the situation of the Snow Emperor inside, and immediately resealing the slough if there was anything wrong. Fortunately, nothing unpleasant happened. A ball of pure white light floated out from the remains. After seeing the Snow Emperor's spiritual origin being released, Tianmeng Iceworm's already prepared spiritual origin surged, and a ball of golden light sucked the Snow Emperor's spiritual origin into Huo Yuhao's sea of consciousness like a vortex. After everything settled, Tianmeng Iceworm breathed a sigh of relief. At this point, even if the Snow Emperor wanted to regret it, he could no longer do so, but he still controlled the slough to seal the Snow Emperor's body to avoid any complications. As if feeling the vigilance of Tianmeng Iceworm, the Snow Emperor's spiritual origin snorted but did not speak. Hey, Snow Emperor, it's not my fault. You are also the king of the far north for 700,000 years. I must be careful. Tianmeng Binkan explained, but Snow Emperor ignored it. The white light that entered the sea of consciousness turned into a girl with an indifferent expression. The girl has long white hair and a sky blue dress that looks dazzling in this sea of consciousness, but her expression is a little cold and she doesn't seem so easy to get along with. The Snow Emperor, who had manifested his true form, looked at the somewhat crowded sea of consciousness and frowned slightly. Big insect, what is going on? Who are the golden balls and the grey balls of light in the sky? You'd better explain to me clearly. The Snow Emperor's voice was cold, and even without using any strength, it still revealed a bone-chilling chill. Before Tianmeng Iceworm could speak, Electrolux spoke up. Do you have any objections to me? The figure of Electrolux appeared in the sea of consciousness, and as soon as its extremely high soul power appeared, the Snow Emperor's face was filled with a solemn look. Human, are you threatening this emperor? But even when faced with Electrolux, who was almost a god in nature, the Snow Emperor did not give in at all. Now that she has decided to become Huo Yuhao's second martial soul, this sea of consciousness will be her future residence, and for her own future, she cannot give in to a human threat. Shui Emperor, old guy, now is not the time to quarrel. Let Yuhao absorb the soul ring now. Tianmeng Binkan stood up to smooth things over, but as soon as his chubby body approached the Snow Emperor, she slapped him away with one hand. After snorting coldly, Snow Emperor closed his eyes and began to communicate his power in the outside world, preparing to cooperate with Tianmen's plan. Electrolux also returned to the grey ball of light to continue his research. Although Tianmeng Bingshen was beaten a bit, he was relieved to see that the sea of consciousness had returned to calm. He quickly communicated with Huo Yuhao to get him ready, and at the same time told the Snow Emperor about the method. Snow Emperor, you do this first, then this, and then that, that's all. I dare not write in detail because I'm afraid of being slapped in the face. Recently, the faces of Douluo fandom writers are almost numb. Listening to Tianmeng's explanation, Emperor Shui pondered for a moment and asked, there is something wrong with the plan. Your situation is a little different from mine. Your energy has been sucked dry until there is very little left, but I am different. Even if only 1/3 of my current cultivation level is left, I still have about 500,000 years of energy. Even according to what you said, a maximum of 7 seals can be applied, and this is the limit. But even so, my energy is not what this little guy can bear now, so we must add another protective measure. Snow Emperor said, a fierce look flashed in his eyes. If I take the initiative to sacrifice, I can choose the part where the soul bone will be generated and directly generate the trunk bone for him to fuse. As long as the body strength can be successfully fused, it will be enough. Snow Emperor said, looking at Tianmeng Bingzi. Tianmeng Binkan was stunned, because what the Snow Emperor said was exactly what he had neglected. Because his energy was almost completely absorbed by the soul beasts in the Star Do Forest, coupled with his powerful mental control, he did not put any pressure on Huo Yuhao. But Snow Emperor's situation is obviously different. With 700,000 years of cultivation, there are only 7 seals. Even if Huo Yuhao now has the physical strength of a soul master level, it is not enough. Okay, don't think about it. I will produce a torso bone, seal most of the power inside, and guide the remaining energy out to strengthen the 7 seals. Under my control, you will strengthen the seal and I will guide the fusion of soul bones. This little guy will not suffer too much pain. As the Snow Emperor said, Tianmeng had no objection. After discussing with Huo Yuhao, the fusion of martial spirits officially began. The remains that originally wrapped the Snow Emperor quickly dissipated, revealing the Snow Emperor's true form. Compared with the coldness of the Snow Emperor's spiritual origin in the sea of consciousness, there is an extra bit of nobility in his body. Even if she just lay there with her eyes closed, she gave people a sacred and inviolable feeling. Her beauty was far beyond any woman Huo Yuhao had ever seen. Of course, she had to get rid of the bone-chilling coldness on her body. Because the Snow Empress's body was exposed, she automatically exuded an amazing chill. This chill spread over, making Huo Yuhao shudder. Yuhao, get ready. The Snow Empress will pull the trunk bone into your body and freeze your perception, but you will still feel very strong pain. Tianmeng in the sea of consciousness said in a deep voice. After Huo Yuhao was ready, the body of the Snow Empress melted like ice and snow encountering the scorching sun, but what it finally turned into was not water, but a bone that looked like an ice crystal. To be more precise, it was a trunk bone. The ribs and spine were all complete, and each part was crystal clear as if it was made of crystal, emitting a hazy light. This trunk bone, like a work of art, approached Huo Yuhao's body under the control of the Snow Empress. It can be said that the plan has progressed to this point. Not only Shui De has no way out, but he, Huo Yuhao and even Alex have no way out. If you succeed, you will become a god without any obstacles. If you fail, you will fall into the abyss and cannot turn over. Chapter 39. Belmare put the cake she had prepared on the table and cheered. Because the oranges sold this time made a lot of money, and the family now has a lot of savings together with the money from the Sea King meet last time, so this time she not only made a big cake but also customized a new dress for Nami and Nokago. Thank you Bellmare. Nokago and Nami were very happy to see the cake and new clothes, but Bellmare still saw a trace of loss in their eyes. She naturally knew where this loss came from. It was nothing more than the absence of Huo Yuhao, a family member. After 2 months of getting along in the pirate world, it can be said that the Bellmare family has completely accepted Huo Yuhao as a family member. Especially Nami. In her heart, Huo Yuhao's status is equal to that of Nokago and Bellmare. This stinky boy said he would leave for a few days, why hasn't he come back yet? Bellmare looked out the window, with a trace of helplessness and worry in his eyes. In fact, from Huo Yuhao's situation these days, she judged that Huo Yuhao's identity should not be simple, and he has his own things to do. Either he carries the hatred of the family, or he carries the expectations of his companions. She has seen a lot of such things, so she allowed Huo Yuhao to be away from home all day when he was a teenager. But every time there would be some food left in the kitchen, no matter when Huo Yuhao came back, he would have something to eat, not just hungry. Looking at Nami and Nokago eating cake in front of her, Bellmare smiled. This is the feeling of living together as a family. At the same time, she was worried about Huo Yuhao not coming back for a day. In the past, Huo Yuhao could see people all day. Bellmare, you eat too. Nami handed a divided cake to Bellmare. After eating the cake, Bellmare also put down her worries and laughed. Looking at Nami and Nokago's smiles after eating the cake, her mood also improved a lot. Their lives have indeed become better since Huo Yuhao came. In the past, they really couldn't bear to buy such cakes and new clothes. Little Nami, Nokago, remember to save some for Yuhao. Bellmare said, and walked into the kitchen. Okay Bellmare. As the flames rose, the smoke from the stove entered the chimney and floated upwards. Even in broad daylight, this wisp of smoke was particularly eye-catching. In Kakaxia village, on the coast, a huge ship was heading towards Kakaxia village. The ship was extremely huge, with 6 huge canvases fluttering in the wind, a flag with a skull hanging above, and the bow ram was also in the shape of a sawtooth shark. Obviously, this was a standard pirate ship. The pirate ship was extremely fast, stirring up a lot of waves while moving. Even when it was close to the coastline, it didn't slow down and directly hit the coast, stirring up a lot of smoke and dust. Chee ha ha ha. A laugh that was uglier than a ghost's cry sounded, and then dozens of fishmen of different shapes walked down from the pirate ship. Among them, a huge fishman with serrated teeth is particularly eye-catching. He is much taller than the fishman next to him, with a strong body and an exaggerated serrated knife in his hand. This fishman is called Arlong. A former member of the Sun Pirates, now the captain of the Fishman Pirates. Looking at the village with smoke rising from the chimneys in front of him, Arlong's mouth opened in an extremely exaggerated degree, with the serrated knife on his shoulder with one hand. Fellow countrymen, let the lower races in front see how powerful we fishmen are. Adults are 100,000 baileys, children are 50,000 baileys, and those who can't pay will be killed, ha 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 ha. As Arlong said this, the octopus fishman behind him asked in confusion, Boss, why don't we just kill them all? Wouldn't we make more money this way? Xiao Ba scratched his head with the handle of the knife, looking very puzzled. Stupid, you can only make money once this way. Boss Along can keep enslaving these low-level humans and make more money this way, right, Boss Along? The cartilaginous fishman on the other side flattered. Along also responded with a big laugh. That's right, chee ha ha ha. Although he said so, Along knew the real situation in his heart. If they really wanted to kill people, it would definitely make their bounties soar, and then things would get out of hand. If things got out of hand, his partner Colonel Mouse, a mere branch colonel, would not be able to cover it up for him. And with his strength, which was only at the level of an ordinary branch officer, he had no ability to protect all the fishmen at all, which was why he was so low-key. Otherwise, with his personality and his disgust for humans, he would have started killing people a long time ago. As the Fishman pirates entered the Kokozia village, all the fishmen went out and began to gather the villagers from house to house. Hello, boring humans. From now on, this village, no, this island will be ruled by me. As Aaron finished speaking, the fishmen behind him cheered. 100,000 berries per adult, 50,000 berries per child, and all those who can't pay will be killed. Aaron looked at the villagers who were trembling in fear because of his appearance, and the cruelty in his eyes was not concealed. The fishman behind him also laughed, as if they were laughing at the weakness and powerlessness of these villagers. Fortunately, there were not too many Baileys. The villagers of Kokozia village also had a wave of income from selling oranges, and most of them paid protection fees. Some poorer villagers also barely raised enough protection fees with the help of their neighbors. After collecting the protection fees, Aaron laughed loudly, bent his body slightly and turned to leave. This time, we will only kill those who can't pay. Okay, compatriots, let's retreat. After saying that, Aaron was about to take the fishmen away and wait for another wave of leeks to be cut later, when a fisherman brother suddenly spoke. Lord Aaron, there is another family far away in the village. The brother walked out of the alley and took away 2 large oranges. Hearing the words of this brother, Aaron and his group immediately walked towards Bellamire's home. Seeing A Long coming over, Aegeon's heart was filled with anxiety. He suddenly rushed back to the house, picked up his few remaining baileys and guns, and ran around the path to Bellamire's house. At the same time, he prayed in his heart that Bellamire must collect enough money. Just as A Long and his group and Aegeon were rushing to Bellamire's house, Huo Yuhao's soul ring fusion was also coming to an end. Chapter 40. His body, which was originally shorter than his peers, had also grown taller due to the transformation of his soul bones, and he looked like a big kid of 15 or 16 years old. His body was only still thin. But the power contained in it would definitely make any enemy who dared to underestimate him pay the price. After the improvement of the torso bones of the 700,000-year-old Ice and Snow Girl, Huo Yuhao's physical strength was raised to about the 40th level of Soul Sect. It seemed that the improvement was not big because 50% of the energy of the Snow Queen was sealed in the soul bones, and 40% was sealed in the 7 seals of the Sea of Consciousness. Most of the remaining 10% was used to transform Huo Yuhao's physical talent, and only a small part was used to improve Huo Yuhao's physical strength. If Huo Yuhao's talent was 1 at the beginning, then it was 1.1 after Bai Bei combed his meridians, and 1.3 after taking Xian Shui pill. Now, Huo Yuhao's talent has definitely reached 2.0, and the improvement is not small. If this talent was replaced by Huo Yuhao at level 11, it is estimated that half a month of practice would be enough for him to upgrade to level 20. Instead of spending 2 months in the pirate world to practice to level 20 like now. Compared with the improvement of talent and physical fitness, Huo Yuhao's soul power has not improved much. Because he has not yet obtained the second soul ring, he cannot break through for the time being. However, the soul power contained in his body, as long as he obtains the second soul ring, is conservatively estimated to be enough for Huo Yuhao to upgrade to level 25 or above. Then there is the most important luck power. As the main opportunity of Huo Yuhao in the original work, the early appearance of Xuedi allowed Huo Yuhao to gain a full 4,000 points of luck power, bringing his total luck power to the level of 110,000. Together with the energy of destiny that was consumed at the beginning, it was all replenished. This was the biggest gain of Huo Yuhao's trip. Yuhao, how do you feel? Tianmeng Ice Silkworm flew out and asked. The plan was successfully completed, with the addition of a powerful foreign aid like Xuedi, and the recruitment of Ice Di was also within reach, so he was in a very good mood. Brother Tianmeng, I feel so strong now. Feeling the abundant power in his body, Huo Yuhao said a little inflated. Now he understood why the protagonists in the novels would say that they could kill a cow with 1 punch every time they made a big improvement. Because he also had this feeling now. The feeling of being able to split mountains and rocks with a casual punch, if Huo Yuhao had to describe it, it would be that 1 punch could kill 2 cows. Well, your current physique should be able to absorb the second soul ring of about 2,000 years. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm roughly felt it and yawned. As a spiritual body, he himself would not feel sleepy. The reason why he yawned was because he consumed too much mental power this time, making him a little weak. As the one who consumed the most mental power this time, Xuedi had already found a place to rest in the center of the Sea of Consciousness. It is worth mentioning that Xuedi directly booked a huge area in the center as her territory, and the surrounding area turned into an ice sea. If Huo Yuhao's Sea of Consciousness had not expanded by about 3 times, it would really not be able to accommodate so many people. Well, Brother Tianmeng, the second soul ring of my spirit eye wants to absorb a soul skill that can change the color of the soul ring. Do you have any recommendations? Huo Yuhao looked at Tianmen's consciousness body and asked. Now he dared not reveal the color of his soul ring, not to mention the second martial soul. Just this time, the first martial soul, the spirit eye, also increased the age of the soul ring to the extent that he dared not expose it because of the energy increase this time. The first soul ring has already turned into a purple 1000-year level. After his body strength is higher in the future, the power of the first soul ring will be unlocked, and the color will only be more exaggerated until it turns into the original golden color. He was afraid that he would be dissected as a guinea pig if he went out. Well, this is a small matter. I have already decided who to absorb. We can set off after Xuedi and I recover. Tianmeng had returned to the sea of consciousness, leaving only a reminder. Yu Hao, you should first get familiar with the spirit ring skills and spirit bone skills that Xuedi gave you. I estimate that we will have to sleep for 2 or 3 days this time. Hearing the size of Tianmeng's ice silkworm, Huo Yuhao responded, and the second martial soul appeared. A boy who looked 80% like Huo Yuhao, but with white hair, appeared behind Huo Yuhao. I don't know if it was because Huo Yuhao was a boy. As Huo Yuhao's second martial soul, the martial soul body given by Xuedi changed from the image of an ice and snow girl to the image of Huo Yuhao and Xuedi fused together. He stretched out his right hand, and a diamond-shaped ice crystal appeared in his palm. As the darling of ice attribute, the ice snow girl martial spirit not only gave Huo Yuhao a much stronger physical quality than the top martial spirits, but also had ice attributes far exceeding that of the ice queen. To be frank, this kind of ice is the ultimate ice. What's more powerful is that the Snow Queen can fight alone and can share the soul skills of the second martial spirit with Huo Yuhao. This is the final stage of fusion, the work of Alex. It makes Huo Yuhao's twin martial spirits even more advantageous. Then there are 6 soul skills added up by 1 soul ring and 1 soul bone. Yes, 6 soul skills. I don't know if it's because the Snow Queen has a complete cultivation of 700,000 years, her soul bone and soul skills each bring 3 soul skills to Huo Yuhao. The soul rings are Emperor Palm Great Cold Without Snow, which needs to be launched close to the body. The soul skill that can attack from a distance is Emperor Sword Ice Extreme Unparalleled. The domain type soul skill is Emperor Cold Sky Snow Dance Shining Sunday. The 3 soul skills of the soul bone are Ice Coffin Freezing 10 Directions, which can restrict the enemy. The Ice Shield Ice Barrier, which can be used for defense. And the Ice Body Ice God Descends, which can transform into Gundam. For those interested in the specific skill attributes, please read the comments. The 6 soul skills allow Huo Yuhao to maximize the attack, defense, melee, and long range of ice attributes. It can be said that when he saw these soul skills, he was stunned, because they were so well matched, and none of them were useless soul skills. At this time, Huo Yuhao heard the sound of something hitting the coast in the distance. Because the distance was not too far, Huo Yuhao could even feel the ground under his feet shaking. Feeling something was wrong, Huo Yuhao immediately stood up and went to check, and then saw a huge pirate ship docked on the coast. The standard pirate flag on it and the ramming horn on the bow showed the identity of this pirate ship. Along's Fishman Pirate Ship. Chapter 41. Bel Emil, who was cooking at home, suddenly heard a knock on the door. He thought it was Huo Yuhao who was back and shouted excitedly. "The door is open, come in." Belmir said, and just as he was about to continue cooking, he saw Aegean running over with an anxious look on his face. "Oh, it's Aegean. Did you come over here just to get some food? You'll have to pay for that," Belmir said with a little loss in his eyes. Just now she thought it was Huo Yuhao who was back, but it turned out to be Aegean. "Belmir, quickly, run quickly." As soon as Aegean came in, he couldn't help but want to pull Belmir away, but his strength was not as strong as Belmir at all. After some pulling, he was controlled by Belmir. "Aegean, what happened? It's so urgent?" Belmir asked, but before Jian could explain, a group of mermaids appeared outside the door. "Excuse me." Aaron looked at the 4 people in front of him, grinned with an arrogant smile, and even put his hands in his trouser pockets, looking defenseless. He had just successfully received a lot of Baileys in this village, which made him despise these humans. So many people didn't dare to resist them, let alone the woman Belmir and the 2 children next to her. But what he didn't expect was that Belmir moved the moment he entered. His body rushed forward and knocked Aaron away from the wooden house, and he also picked up the firearm placed by the door. Belmir, with a cigarette hanging from the corner of his mouth, stepped on Aaron's chest, and the gun in his hand was already pressed into Aaron's throat. "Sorry, I used to be in the navy. What do the pirates of the Grand Line do when they come all the way to Caucosia village?" As soon as Belmir finished speaking, Aaron bit the barrel of the gun into pieces, and his powerful bite surprised Belmir. But it wasn't over yet. After knowing that Belmir was just a parallel importer, Aaron had no scruples and stood up directly and threw Belmar away. What a weak human being! You don't think that this toy can cause harm to me, do you? Aaron said, walking step by step towards Belmir, who had hit a tree and couldn't move. Suddenly, I felt as if my leg had been bitten by a mosquito. He turned around and saw a girl with short orange hair holding a ridiculous wooden stick in her hand and hitting his leg. Just as he was about to kick him over, he noticed some ice fog appearing around him. Before he could react to what was happening, a huge ice crystal sword rushed toward him. Feeling the danger, Aaron reluctantly put his arms across his body to resist, but in a hurry, he was still shot away, and the scars on his arms were repaired. The ice fog dissipated, revealing the figure inside. It was Huo Yuhao. Compared with his appearance a few days ago, Huo Yuhao's appearance changed drastically at this moment. Not only was he much taller, but there was also a large white Huo Yuhao behind him, surrounded by a blood-red halo. Nami couldn't believe that this was Huo Yuhao due to this drastic change in her image. He asked tentatively. Huo Yuhao. Well, Nami, go and see Belmir first. Seeing Huo Yuhao's answer, Nami glanced at Aaron hesitantly, then ran to Belmir. Although she also wanted to fight alongside Huo Yuhao, she also understood that the battle in front of her was not something she could participate in. Huo Yuhao looked at the murlocs surrounding him in front and got into a fighting stance. Just then, a murloc saw Huo Yuhao suddenly appear and knocked away their boss Aaron, so he immediately rushed over with a big stick in hand. You stinky brat who came out of nowhere, are you looking for death? The fishman shouted loudly, but Huo Yuhao just waved his palm lightly. As the first soul skill Emperor Palm, Dahan Wuxu was used, the strong cold air directly sealed the fishman in ice. Seeing this strange scene, the other murlocs also hesitated and did not dare to step forward for a moment. They just surrounded Huo Yuhao and waited for Aaron, who was blown away, to come over and take command. Damn kid, are you looking for death? The injured Aaron walked slowly over with a serrated knife in his hand, revealing his big mouth full of serrated teeth. Hearing Aaron's threat, Huo Yuhao looked at Aaron with a solemn expression. Obviously, Aaron, who was walking slowly, put a lot of pressure on him. Yuhao, be careful. These fish-headed men are all at the level of great soul masters. The fish-headed man you started to knock away is almost the same as a soul king. Why don't you just let me possess you? Tianmeng Iceworm in the Sea of Consciousness reminded. Huo Yuhao borrowed power from Tianmeng long before the battle began, otherwise his current strength would be incomparable to Aaron. But now, just by borrowing Tianmen's power, he can only exert the strength of ordinary soul sex. It is still very difficult to kill these fishmen, and it is easy to encounter danger. Huo Yuhao hesitated for a moment, but still rejected Tianmeng's proposal to possess him directly, because he wanted to use Aaron and the others as his whetstone. With the strength of Aaron and his group, it can only be said that they are a bit of a threat to him but not a big one. With Tianmeng and Snow Emperor taking care of everything, he doesn't have to worry about safety issues. He can experience what a real life and death battle is like, so that when he faces a powerful enemy later, he doesn't have to worry about his own strength but doesn't know how to use it. Funny. Brother Tianmeng, I want to fight on my own. When that doesn't work, you can possess me again. Tianmeng was a little hesitant, because Aaron's strength could pose a threat to Huo Yuhao. If someone was not careful, it would be bad to cause irreversible damage to Huo Yuhao. At this time, the Snow Emperor, who had been sleeping, woke up as if he sensed the battle, and said, let Huo Yuhao fight on his own this time. But Tianmeng still wanted to refuse, but the Snow Emperor manifested his body, glanced at the golden ring next to him, and slapped it on it. With this Emperor here, what are you afraid of? Seeing the Snow Emperor's promise, Tianmeng didn't say anything more and had no choice but to let Huo Yuhao do what he wanted. He just watched the situation outside with all his attention in the conscious space, and was ready to use the magic directly if something went wrong. With Snow Emperor's guarantee, Huo Yuhao became more confident, and his eyes when looking at Aaron were filled with fighting intent. What nonsense are you talking about? I need a reason to beat you. With an angry curse, Huo Yuhao turned up the power. The bloody 100,000-year-old soul ring under his feet shone, and the first soul ring's domain-like soul skill, Emperor Hantian Snow Dance Ye Yang, was used. Kakozia village seemed to have partially entered winter, and the entire world was covered with snowflakes. A 5-meter-tall ice crystal giant stood impressively in the wind and snow. Chapter 42. Otherwise, with such a large consumption, if Huo Yuhao can't exert his due combat power, it will be a pure loss-making business. However, this move uses a lot of soul power and is also very strong. Using the soul bone skill, after the ice Dharma body ice god descended, his strength doubled or tripled, and in the domain of Emperor Hantian, Along and other fishmen were weakened, while Huo Yuhao was strengthened. This loss and gain gave Huo Yuhao a great boost of confidence. He immediately rushed towards Along. Seeing the 5-meter-tall ice crystal giant rushing towards him, at the same time, because his body was covered with ice and snow, Along's blood seemed to slow down. He rolled over and barely avoided the ice crystal giant's fist, but Huo Yuhao kicked him again. Along, who had nowhere to hide, could only parry and hold the ice Dharma body's big foot with both hands. Only then did he realize that the ice giant, which looked terrifying, was not as powerful as he had imagined. Pushing Huo Yuhao away with one hand, Aaron showed a grim smile on his face. "Damn kid, it turns out he's just a show-off." Saying this, Aaron raised his serrated knife and slashed at the ice giant's waist, but only a few ice chips were splashed out, without much substantial damage. Huo Yuhao found the right opportunity and punched again, but Aaron dodged it again, and then seized the opportunity to slash, but still did not cause any damage. Seeing this funny scene on the battlefield, the fishmen watching around twitched at the corners of their mouths. "Why do I feel like Boss Aaron hasn't eaten?" Xiao Ba looked at the battle in front and asked with some confusion. Not only him, but the fishmen around him also had this feeling. After Aaron dodged several attacks in a row, Huo Yuhao stopped. It was not because he was hit so hard that he was ready to cheat, but because he had realized it. After being weakened, his attack still had difficulty hitting the agile Aaron, so why did he open a domain that was of little use and consumed a lot of energy? Why didn't he use the spirit eye to start the spiritual detection battle? After thinking it through, Huo Yuhao immediately stopped using Dehantian, and at the same time switched his martial soul to the spirit eye martial soul, and the blood-red soul ring under his feet turned into a purple soul ring. Seeing that it was no longer snowing around, Huo Yuhao also stopped moving. Aaron thought that Huo Yuhao could not hold on and was ready to surrender, and immediately laughed at him. "Chi ha ha ha, damn stinky kid, are you out of strength? If you kneel down and beg me, then I can consider accepting you as a slave." Facing Aaron's ridicule, Huo Yuhao was too lazy to reply and moved his hands and feet. Feeling the special vision from the spiritual detection, the feeling that every blade of grass and every tree within a radius of 300 meters was under control appeared again. "The battle has just begun." After the voice fell, Huo Yuhao started to move again and punched Aaron. Aaron still dodged Huo Yuhao's attack easily. Just as he was about to start taunting, he felt a pain in his waist and was knocked out for some reason. Before he could react, Huo Yuhao stepped forward again and stepped on Aaron to the ground. A huge ice coffin froze Aaron inside. "Haha, I said the battle has just begun." Huo Yuhao punched Aaron's head, which was frozen in the ice coffin, ready to end the battle, and sent a taunt at the same time. With the sound of the ice coffin breaking, Huo Yuhao felt a sharp pain in his right fist. He looked closely and found that it was Aaron's jagged nose that blocked the attack and penetrated the ice crystal on his right fist. "Yeah, the battle has begun, and I'm too lazy to play with you." Aaron's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Just now, he felt that there was something strange about Huo Yuhao. Although he was not very powerful, he always gave him a sense of threat, so he didn't use his full strength. But the battle had reached this point, and Long felt that he had figured out Huo Yuhao's strength, so he stopped hiding it. He punched Huo Yuhao in the chest. This punch was accompanied by the shock force of the fishman fist, which not only broke part of the ice crystal armor, but also hurt Huo Yuhao's body. Seeing that the blow was successful, Long was about to make up for it when he heard a long sigh. But when he listened carefully, it was like an illusion and he couldn't hear it clearly. "Xiao Yuhao, let me teach you how to use ice." In the sea of consciousness, the Snow Emperor said so. Huo Yuhao only felt a cool but warm body wrapped around him. His right hand waved lightly without control, and suddenly, heavy snow filled the sky and the earth again, but this time the heavy snow was different from the last time. It was no longer directly generated out of thin air, but spread from the sky. In a few seconds, the heavy snow that had just appeared was like a blizzard, covering the battlefield, and a huge ice sword condensed from the clouds and swooped down. Aaron's crisis instinct made him desperately want to dodge, but his body was completely unresponsive, and he could only watch the huge ice sword pierce through his body and nail him to the ground. The half-man-wide giant sword pierced through Aaron's chest, almost cutting Aaron in half. "Hee hee. Hee hee. Aaron, who was originally very arrogant, was pierced by the giant sword and stretched out his hand as if he wanted to touch something, with blood constantly flowing from his mouth. But because of the blizzard around him, his blood and chest were all frozen, which allowed him to save his life temporarily. But his whole body was frozen, and no liquid could flow inside. It was obvious that he was dead. After a while, the blizzard stopped, and the Snow Queen also withdrew from the possession state. Huo Yuhao looked at the scene in front of him, swallowed his saliva, and was shocked. He was sure that the Snow Queen definitely used the same soul power as him to use the Emperor Hantian and the Emperor Sword, but the effect was beyond his reach. Obviously, the Snow Queen's control over ice has reached an outrageous level. You simply use too much soul power and have little effect. A real strong man should use his own power to communicate with the power of heaven and earth to achieve twice the result with half the effort. In the sea of consciousness, the voice of the Snow Queen came slowly. After a while, the storm in front of him dissipated, but the frozen A Long and the big sword on his body had not dissipated yet, reflecting a dazzling luster in the sun. "Asshole, you dare to hurt Boss A Long!" At this moment, a fishman's shout woke him up. Looking in the direction of the voice, he saw an octopus fishman with 8 arms rushing towards Aegean, who was treating Belmer's injuries, at the side of the house. Huo Yuhao curled his lips. Under mental detection, his actions did not pose any threat. Just when he was about to give Xiao Bei a mental shock, a hearty male voice sounded behind him. "If the men on the sea decide to fight each other, let them fight. Don't involve women and children, asshole." Chapter 43. The man wore the standard cloak of justice for a naval admiral. He had short white hair and a beard. He looked very serious, but the exaggerated laugh on his face ruined his overall image. As soon as the man appeared, he punched away Xiao Hachi, who was trying to attack Belmir and the others. It looked like it was just a light punch, but Zioba fell to the ground and did not know whether he was alive or dead after being attacked. The surrounding Murlocs immediately rushed towards Garp, but Garp smiled heartily. Just when he was about to deal with these reckless Murloc pirates, Huo Yuhao stopped in front of him. "Uncle, this is my battle, please don't interfere," Huo Yuhao said, entering combat mode again, and the 5-meter-tall ice giant appeared again. Don't get me wrong, this is not because Huo Yuhao likes to abuse vegetables, but because Huo Yuhao discovered that after Snow Emperor killed Eren, his luck power actually increased. That's why he wanted to try to see if killing or defeating these fishmen could increase his luck. Hearing Huo Yuhao's words, Garp was stunned for a moment, and then laughed even louder. "Ha ha ha ha, you kid is very attractive to me. You are obviously an ice devil fruit user, but you are much better than that guy Aokiji, ha 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 ha." Garp laughed, and at this time, a group of marines surrounded him, surrounding him. "Stop, Bogart. This is a man's insistence. Don't disturb him." Hearing this, Bogart, who was Garp's adjutant, naturally knew what kind of temper his commander had, so he had no choice but to stop the marines who were about to step forward. At the same time, he looked curiously at the ice giant in the center of the battlefield. At this moment, snowflakes were falling again between the sky and the earth, and a large amount of ice and snow covered the place again. Although the ice and snow this time was still not as good as the one used by Snow Emperor, Huo Yuhao also showed some brilliance by relying on the memory of Snow Emperor's move. After opening the domain, Huo Yuhao drove the ice crystal giant and began to slaughter these fishmen. Most of the Murlocs are no match for Huo Yuhao. Among them, the cartilaginous Murlocs and the kissing Murlocs are about as powerful as the Soul Master and can fight Huo Yuhao to a degree. Bogart stretched out his palms, feeling the coldness brought by the ice and snow, and turned his head to ask Garp aside. "Is this the natural type, Swexia fruit, but what about his ice crystal giant? This feels like Admiral Aokiji's ice, but not exactly like it." Garp, however, looked at Huo Yuhao with some appreciation, with a hint of nostalgia in his eyes. In Huo Yuhao, he saw the shadows of the 2 little bastards in his family, both of whom were about the same age. Those 2 little bastards were still thinking about how to become pirates all day long, but Huo Yuhao was working hard to protect his family. It was really comparing people with others will lead to death, and comparing goods with goods will lead to throwing away. When I go back, I will definitely train those 2 boys well. When Garp said this, Bogart suddenly looked at Garp with a black line on his face. "Lieutenant General Garp, I'm asking nonsense. Yes, we need to train this boy to become an excellent navy and serve as an example to the 2 boys." The more Garp talked, the more excited he became. In the end, he jumped up. The smile on his face was in line with the standard smile of the Pirate King, with his teeth exposed and reaching behind his ears. "I'm talking to you, bastard." Seeing that Garp was still talking to himself, Bogart couldn't bear it anymore, veins popped out on his hands, and he roared angrily. As he roared, the snowflakes in his palm melted into ice water and dripped down his arm, and the battle on the battlefield came to an end. All the fishmen were frozen, and there was no life inside. Huo Yuhao did this specially. Otherwise, it would be troublesome to clean up the blood in front of the door. Moreover, after being killed and frozen, he could be thrown directly into the sea without any disgusting scenes. "Haha, little guy, are you interested in joining the navy?" When Garp saw the battle was over, he suppressed Bogart's roar with one hand and walked over. Seeing the iconic laugh on Garp's face, he knew Garp's identity without even thinking about it. At this time, the only general-level officers who could come to the East China Sea seemed to be such, well, bold guys, except Iron Fist Garp. "Uncle, thank you for helping me this time. I have to ask Belmir about joining the navy. She is my adoptive mother." Although he could kill Zioba instantly without Garp's help, Huo Yuhao still thanked Garp but did not immediately agree to Garp joining the navy. He himself is not against joining the navy, and it can even be said that he is more inclined to join the navy, because joining the navy can easily obtain the three-color domineering practice method, and the safety in the navy is relatively high. The only disadvantage is that he has to follow the history of the navy. Like Lake Academy, there will be some restrictions on his freedom. He still had to think carefully about the details. With that said, the three of them also came to the edge of the hut. As early as when the sailors came over, Bogart discovered the injured Belmire. The medical soldiers from the warship were called to treat Belmire's wounds. "Belmir, are you okay?" Seeing that Belmir was covered in bandages, Huo Yuhao asked with concern in his eyes. Belmire touched Huo Yuhao's head and subconsciously wanted to pick up the cigarette and take a puff, but because of the battle just now, all the cigarettes were missing, so he gave up. "It's okay, Xiao Yuhao, this is an old problem from before," Belmir said, and the medic who had completed the task beside him also said, "This lady herself is not seriously injured. The reason why she is weak is that the collision just now triggered the old injury from a few years ago. She will be fine after a few more days of rest." After reporting the situation, the medic and the surrounding marines left here. This time they came to Caucasia not only because of Garp's whim, but also to replenish sailing supplies. It's just that the original scheduled supply replenishment place was in Rogue Town, but now that they are here, there is no need to go to Rogue Town again. After the marines left, Belmir saw Garp and Bogart coming from behind. "Vice Admiral Garp!" Belmir exclaimed, as if he couldn't believe that he actually met Vice Admiral Garp in Caucasia village. "Oh? Do you know me?" Garp saw that Belmir knew him, but he couldn't remember seeing Belmir before. "I used to be a major in a branch, and I met you when you were on vacation," Belmir said, and Garp laughed again. "How about it, little guy? I see your adoptive mother was a marine before. Do you want to join the navy? How about I teach you in person when the time comes?" Chapter 44. Now the whole village, together with Huo Yuhao and the others, were on the coast to see off this group of sailors. "Then it's agreed, little one, that when we return we will take you to the navy headquarters and introduce you to two new friends." On the warship, Garp shouted. Before setting off, he had discussed it with Belmir and Huo Yuhao. After that, Huo Yuhao and Nami would go to the navy to practice, but they would not be taught by Garp, but like normal people. Sailors enter the boot camp like that. Nyakajao decided to stay in Caucasia village with Belmir because he didn't like to go out. It is worth mentioning that because of Huo Yuhao's opinion, the two grandsons of the Garp family, Luffy and Ace, will also be brought there. Looking at the warship that had gone away, Belmir held Nami in one hand and Nyakajao in the other, followed by Huo Yuhao, and the group walked back home. In the warship, "Lieutenant General Garp, do you think what that little guy said is true?" Bogart looked at the information about the 16th branch with a serious face. After they invited Huo Yuhao to join the navy in the afternoon, Huo Yuhao told them a piece of news, saying that Aaron's subordinates told him to save their lives. "Haha, no matter what, won't we find out if we go over and take a look?" At this moment, Garp was still immersed in the method of educating his grandson that Huo Yuhao had just told him. Because during dinner, Kapu mentioned that he had two rebellious grandsons who wanted to be pirates, and Huo Yuhao gave him an idea. Thinking that his ship would train the three future generals, the smile on Garp's face became even brighter. He didn't even pay attention to Bogart's words after that, and went to the rest cabin of the warship. Looking at Garp who had gone away, Bogart shook his head helplessly. Focusing on the information about the 16 branches in his hand, especially the person named Colonel Mouse, a stern look flashed in his eyes. Even in the most stable East China Sea, are there so many corrosive maggots? Bogart slapped the file in his hand on the table with a gloomy expression, his mind already drifting to the 16th branch. If nothing unexpected happens, the entire 16 branches and even the entire East China Sea Navy will be purged. On the other side, Huo Yuhao, who had returned home, said goodbye to Belmere and the others and returned to his room. Because it was getting late today, there was no need to exercise anymore, and the cultivation of soul power had reached its bottleneck. Tianmeng and Snow Emperor had both fallen into a deep sleep, so Huo Yuhao had a rare day of rest today. The next day, Huo Yuhao woke up early and stretched out comfortably. It could be said that this was the first time he slept since traveling through time. In the past, he had always meditated instead of sleeping. Let alone sleep like this, it's quite refreshing. But the comfort was only temporary after all. After waking up, Huo Yuhao's heart was filled with fighting spirit again. After breakfast, I took Nami out to exercise. The next 3 days passed like this. I take Nami for a run during the day, meditate and practice for a while after lunch, then exercise with weights, rest in the afternoon, and meditate in the evening. Among them, Huo Yuhao mainly trains his body, while Nami mainly trains her soul power. 3 days later, in the far north. At this time, only a day and a half had passed since Huo Yuhao left in the far north, and it happened to be daytime. Huo Yuhao was lurking in the snow. The cold surrounding environment had no impact on Huo Yuhao today. Because he has the Snow Emperor as his second martial spirit, Huo Yuhao possesses the most extreme ice attributes. It is undoubtedly impossible to rely on these uncontrolled cold air to affect him. Looking forward quietly, moving slowly beneath him, he saw a huge snow direwolf resting in a snow cave in front of him. This kind of snow wolf is called an ice-toothed wolf. If you judge its age purely by its appearance, it has a cultivation level of about 10,000 years. This is exactly the goal of Huo Yuhao's second soul ring. To be more precise, Huo Yuhao's goal was the ice silkworm that mimicked the ice-toothed wolf. Yes, this time Huo Yuhao chose Tianmen's clansman as the second soul ring for his spiritual ice martial spirit, an ordinary 4,000-year-old ice silkworm. In fact, Huo Yuhao's current physical strength is enough to absorb the second ring of a 5,000-year-old soul, but since he has not found a soul beast that meets the requirements, he can only resort to absorbing this 4,000-year-old ice silkworm. Anyway, his power of luck can be used to increase the level of his soul ring. Brother Tianmeng, the simulation of this ice silkworm is really real. Huo Yuhao said as he lurked in the snow and slowly approached the snow cave. Tianmeng Bingxi said proudly in his mind, although our clan's combat effectiveness is not very good, I am not proud of the use of mental power. There is no one in the entire far north who is better than us. Tianmeng Bingxi said, but there was a sneer in the sea of consciousness. I guess there's no one better than you at using mental power to escape, right? Swaity revealed mercilessly that ever since he woke up, Swaity especially liked to quarrel with Tianmeng, especially when he saw Tianmeng unable to do anything to her. I remember that there is a race called the Fox of the North living just outside the Ice Emperor's territory, right? Those are the ones who are good at spiritual power. As for you? Hee. Faced with Shueti's unceremonious sabotage, Tianmeng's tone stagnated, but he did not refute, because he also found that Shueti liked to argue with him recently, and he also found a way to deal with it. That is to ignore it. Shueti, who felt that it was meaningless, naturally stopped talking. The result was not unexpected. After Tianmeng's ice silkworm stopped making any sound, Shueti also fell into silence. In reality, Huo Yuhao listened to the bickering between Shueti and Tianmeng's ice silkworm, suppressed his smile, and did not interrupt. Instead, he pretended to be focused and lurked. When he got close, in an instant, a huge ice coffin sealed the snow cave. Ice coffin freeze all directions. Because of being sealed, the illusion simulated by the 4,000-year-old ice silkworm disappeared, revealing a pure white ice silkworm that was similar to the Tianmeng ice silkworm, but much smaller. Huo Yuhao, who succeeded in one strike, stood up immediately and shook off the ice and snow on his body. Yuhao, start absorbing in this cave. Snow Queen and I will help you protect the law. After Huo Yuhao succeeded, Tianmeng Ice Silkworm said immediately. Huo Yuhao nodded and smashed the sealed ice coffin with a punch. The ice silkworm inside also shattered, and a purple soul ring slowly rose. Huo Yuhao sat cross-legged on the ice, with his hands stretched forward, and the circle of purple soul ring slowly entered his body. In fact, to be honest, this was the first time Huo Yuhao officially absorbed a soul ring. Because he absorbed Tianmen's soul ring unconsciously, and he was also passive when absorbing Snow Queen. Only this time was he the main absorber of the soul ring. This novel experience made Huo Yuhao feel a little fresh. Chapter 45. Since the soul ring absorbed this time was far from the body's limit, the fusion was extremely smooth. It didn't take long for the soul ring to be fused without any hindrance. Without the restriction of the soul ring, Huo Yuhao's level began to soar, and the sealed soul power surged in. 21. 22. Level 23. He was promoted to the peak of level 27 before being promoted to level 28 under the energy of the second soul ring. Call. After the soul rings were fused, Huo Yuhao opened his eyes. The addition of soul rings and the increase in level not only improved his strength, but also improved his martial soul eyes. The most obvious thing is that you can see farther and more clearly. Okay Yuhao, now that you have integrated the second soul ring, let's go find Bing Bing. Tianmeng Bingken from the Sea of Consciousness said excitedly after seeing Huo Yuhao successfully integrating the soul rings. Bing Bing? Are you talking about the Ice Emperor? Hearing the name Bing Bing, the Snow Emperor who was originally nestled in his own area instantly caught the blind spot, and the manifested figure grabbed Tianmeng with one hand, his cold eyes narrowed slightly, and the murderous intention in it was obvious. If we say who among the three kings of the far north has the best relationship with whom, it is undoubtedly the Snow Emperor and the Ice Emperor. Now that he heard that Tianmeng, a big silkworm, dared to take advantage of the Ice Emperor, the Snow Emperor naturally became uneasy. Facing the furious Snow Emperor, poor Tianmeng could only be toyed with and applauded. Calm down, Snow Emperor, calm down, listen to me first. Tianmeng, who was caught in Snow Emperor's hand, was about to cry without tears. He was obviously the first to meet Yuhao and the first to enter the Sea of Consciousness, so why could anyone bully him? The golden ball can block the Sea of Consciousness at any time depending on Huo Yuhao's will, and Electrolux makes it impossible for him to do anything. As for the Snow Emperor, it was even more outrageous. Because everything else just makes him uncomfortable, but Snow Emperor is really capable of taking action. Even though Tianmeng has a million-year cultivation, because his energy has been absorbed almost completely, and there is still a gap in energy utilization, facing the Snow Emperor who still has 1/3 of his energy in 700,000 years, he is really unbeatable. Even resisting is difficult. Shui Emperor, please let brother Tianmeng go first. The world is so beautiful, but you are so irritable. This is not good. After absorbing the soul ring, Huo Yuhao saw the Snow Emperor having a dream as soon as he entered the Sea of Consciousness, and hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. Humph, you can start making excuses. Seeing Huo Yuhao also come in, the Snow Emperor snorted coldly, put Tianmeng down, and gave Tianmeng a chance to explain. It's just that she took out an ice-blue ice crystal sword from nowhere in her hand, and gestured at Tianmeng, as if Tianmeng couldn't explain it well, she would strike the sword on Tianmen's body and bring it to the Sea of Consciousness. Just like some festive colors. Bing Bing's cultivation. As soon as Tianmeng opened his mouth, Emperor Shui stepped forward and interrupted what Tianmeng was saying. Did you call me Bing Bing too? Tianmen's breath froze when he heard the words, his pure white head with golden patterns turned a little red, his eyes widened and he changed his words. You should know the Ice Emperor's cultivation, right? Nonsense, except Bing Bing herself, no one can understand her better than me. She should be here now. Halfway through his words, Emperor Shui stopped, as if he had thought of something, and looked at Tianmeng with a slightly complicated look. Are you worried about a catastrophe? But as far as I know, it is not difficult for Bing Bing to survive a catastrophe of 400,000 years. But Tianmeng didn't talk to him, but kept talking to himself. The Ice Empress's cultivation level should be around 390,000 years now. She will experience the fourth Thunder Tribulation in less than 100 years. Do you think the Ice Empress whose origin was damaged can withstand this catastrophe of 400,000 years? Faced with Tianmen's words, Emperor Shui could not say anything that could help him survive. Perhaps before she chose to transform into an adult, she could still help the Ice Emperor survive the catastrophe, but now. Then how do you ensure the success of your plan? You must know that her situation is different from mine. I can only fuse normally with the martial soul position you left. If the Ice Emperor wants to fuse, it can only be fused as a soul ring. Snow Emperor said, a trace of worry flashed in his eyes. In fact, she didn't know that the Ice Emperor was originally injured. From the information she learned, there would be no problem for the Ice Emperor to survive the catastrophe of 400,000 years, so she chose to transform into a human. But looking at Tianmen's sworn expression, she knew that Tianmeng would not lie to her about such a thing. Snow Emperor's words also stopped Tianmeng from questioning. Originally, the Snow Emperor's position was reserved for the Ice Emperor. Later, it was only Huo Yuhao who came up with an idea and had no choice but to send the arrow, so he chose the Snow Emperor. Looking back now, the conditions for the Ice Emperor to become a wise soul ring like him are very harsh. So he turned his head and looked at Huo Yuhao, the proposer, to see if he could do something about it. Huo Yuhao was speechless when faced with Tianmeng's look. He only knew about the idea of soul proposed by Huo Guai with the help of Electrolux in the original work, but really, how did he know? It was not written in the original work. I do have a way, but I'm not sure whether it can be successful. I need to experiment first. Just as the three of them were staring at each other, Electrolux's voice came over, and the three of them followed the sound. The noble and majestic holy law god of the undead appeared again in Huo Yuhao Sea of Consciousness. It's just that compared to the original majesty, there is a little more fatigue in Electrolux's eyes now. Ever since Huo Yuhao proposed that idea, he had been thinking about the feasibility of this method. The long period of thinking and simulation made him mentally weak. But the result was good. After several days of thinking, he finally found a relatively feasible method, but it was still unstable and needed experimentation to ensure success. Human, I can feel that you are very powerful, but your state seems a little wrong. Are you sure you can make Bing Bing transform into a being like me? Snow Emperor looked at Electrolux. Although she also hoped that Electrolux could really find a way, she still asked this question. You feel my power because we are at different levels. Although I came to this world with only a fragment of my consciousness, I am still at a higher level than you, and I naturally understand a little more. Electrolux said, then turned his attention to Huo Yuhao and Tianmeng. Huo Yuhao naturally understood what Electrolux meant and said immediately. My current level is at level 28. If I practice with all my strength, with the help of the energy in the Snow Emperor's soul bone and the energy sealed by you and Tianmeng, I can reach level 30 in the pirate world in a month at most. You can try it with the third soul ring of Ling Mu. Chapter 46. Yes, you have rested for so long, you can really practice now. When I was your age, I wanted to practice all the time. In the pirate world, Huo Yuhao lay down weakly under a tree. He was exhausted after the high-intensity exercise. But less than a minute after resting, Tianmeng and Xuedi in the Sea of Consciousness urged him. Brother Tianmeng, Xuedi is fine, but don't you and I know that when you practice, you eat and sleep, don't you? Huo Yuhao was so tired that he couldn't help but say in the face of Tianmen's urging. He had been trained by Tianmeng and Xuedi for half a month. Even though he liked the feeling of practicing, he urgently needed to rest. Especially now that he has reached the peak of level 29 and is only one step away from level 30, he has the urge to reward himself. Yes, the peak of level 29. The level that was originally expected to be reached in a month, under full-scale training, plus the cooperation of Tianmeng and Xuedi, the required time was greatly shortened. Tianmeng, who was sabotaged by Huo Yuhao, blushed instantly, and showed his spirit body in front of Huo Yuhao. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? How can you say that training is sleeping? And our Ice Silkworm clan is practicing when we sleep, right? Tianmeng, who had been trying to prove that sleeping was practicing, did not notice the danger from behind. A pair of small hands hugged him and rubbed him hard. The touch on his body made Tianmen's face stiffen. He didn't even need to look back, he knew who was behind him. The voice that came later also confirmed his guess. He didn't dare to stay any longer, and immediately returned to Huo Yuhao Sea of Consciousness with a twitch at the corner of his mouth. Ah, brother Tianmeng is really soft, Huo Yuhao, can my first soul ring also help me catch a brother Tianmeng? Nami came over, holding her hands empty, as if she was still savoring the soft touch just now. After 2 months of training, she has already reached level 10. However, because she is not suitable, she has not yet obtained a soul ring for her. She has only popularized the knowledge of soul masters for Nami. Damn girl, this naturally evil human kid, what does it mean to catch a Tianmeng brother? My Tianmeng ice silkworm is the only Tianmeng ice silkworm in the world. Listening to the shouting of Tianmeng biscuits in the sea of consciousness, Huo Yuhao suppressed the smile in his heart and took Nami back home. After dinner, Huo Yuhao took a shower and sat on the bed. Now, he is about to break through to level 30, and then he can go to the far north to obtain the third ring as the first step of the soul experiment. It can be said that if successful, the Douluo world will enter a new chapter ahead of time, and he can also benefit a lot from it. As the training progressed, Huo Yuhao's aura surged. Because of the sufficient energy, he broke through the barrier of level 30 without stopping. Feeling the power in his body, before Huo Yuhao had time to adapt, Tianmeng in the sea of consciousness urged him, and even Xue Di agreed. Yuhao, let's go to the far north quickly. I remember that there was a northern fox with 8,000 years of cultivation in the place we passed by last time. It's just right for you. Okay, I'll go now. Huo Yuhao sighed. Although Xue Di and Tianmeng had their own selfish motives, he got the upper hand after all, so he couldn't say no. As Huo Yuhao moved his mind, the figure in the room disappeared, and the next moment, he returned to the Douluo world. He looked around and identified the direction. The far north was still snowing heavily, the surrounding environment was harsh, and the temperature was low. If a soul master below the Soul King came in, not to mention the threat of soul beasts, the harsh environment alone would be enough for him to drink a pot, and if he was not familiar with the surrounding environment, he would easily get lost. But all this was just a drop in the bucket for Huo Yuhao. With the second martial soul, he can be immune to low temperatures, and with spiritual detection and Tianmeng, he can easily identify the direction. The dangers of the far north are nothing in Huo Yuhao's eyes. Not long after, Huo Yuhao returned to the place he had been a few days ago. Following his memory, he walked deeper and found the trace of the 8,000-year-old northern fox. The fox was ice blue all over, with white patterns on its face, and it looked like a dream. Yuhao, get ready, I'm coming in. In the sea of consciousness, Xue Di said, and entered his body after Huo Yuhao agreed. Huo Yuhao only felt that there was something more in his body, and the martial soul appeared automatically. With a wave of his hands, the surrounding ice and snow condensed into a giant sword as if it had life and flew towards the northern fox. The northern fox, which was still resting, suddenly opened its eyes as if it felt the danger, but facing the flying giant sword, it was difficult for it to dodge, and its limbs were tied up. The whole fox also fell into a coma. After completing the task, the Snow Queen exited the possession state, which lasted no more than 30 seconds. Huo Yuhao regained control of his body, but the strange feeling just now still did not dissipate. If a month ago, the Snow Queen's possession only made him feel that the Snow Queen was a little awesome, then now he could feel how awesome the Snow Queen was. The realm of mobilizing the power of heaven and earth with a wave of his hand was something he could not reach now. Okay, your mission is complete. Next, Yuhao, you listen to my command. After the battle, Alex's spirit body condensed, and he looked at the Fox of the North with interest. This first formal attempt made his ordinary life more interesting. At the same time, he also wanted to see what kind of sparks his magic would collide with after being integrated with the cultivation system of this world. Okay, Master Yi, what should we do now? Just summon your martial soul, and then absorb the soul ring like it's done. As Alex said, a ball of pale yellow flame appeared in his hand and was thrown at the Fox of the North. The body of the Fox of the North was roasted by the flames, and it quickly shrank and floated up as if it was roasted. As Alex moved, Huo Yuhao also reacted quickly, sitting cross-legged on the ground, feeling the connection with the Fox of the North. Seeing that the preparations were ready and confirming that nothing was left out, Alex burst out with a magnificent spiritual power that radiated around. At the same time, with the help of Tianmeng and Xue Di, he mobilized the soul power in the seal, and a huge hexagram array rose around Huo Yuhao with Huo Yuhao as the center. Chapter 47. This little fox has indeed merged into your third soul ring, but why has the body also completely merged into it, but it has not achieved the expected effect? In the hexagram array, Alex was a little confused. According to his prediction, after the integration of Huo Yuhao's third soul ring, this Northland fox should be in a similar situation to a beast master, able to summon the soul beast's body to fight and grow, but the current situation is different. Although the growth of the soul is not yet visible, the current state of the Northland fox is definitely not the body state, but the illusory state. Just like the soul. So, where is the body of the Northland fox? As an 8,000-year-old soul beast, even if it is a spiritual soul beast, the energy contained in the flesh is definitely powerful. But now it is really invisible. Seeing several people staring at him, each of them exuding a terrifying aura, the Northland fox swallowed his saliva and subconsciously shrank into Huo Yuhao's arms. In its few wisdoms, it could clearly feel the closeness from Huo Yuhao. That feeling was like the feeling of being with his mother a long time ago. Huo Yuhao held the Northland fox in his arms, but his hands could not touch its body at all, and he went straight through it. Elder Yi, this situation seems to be a little different from what we expected. Huo Yuhao said hesitantly. Well, see if you can command it first, I'll see about his situation, and then improve this soul ritual. As Alex said, the hexagram array around him dissipated due to the loss of energy supply, and the Snow Emperor and Tianmeng who had completed the task returned to the Sea of Consciousness. This time, because the entire ritual was provided by the two of them, they were the ones who consumed the most. In order not to affect the subsequent soul ritual of the Ice Emperor, they all had to hurry up to recover their spirits. Afterwards, under the command of Alex, Huo Yuhao let the Northland fox experiment with its soul skills and conditions. It was discovered that although the Northland fox, which had become a soul spirit, was in a soul state, it could also access the real level. In terms of combat power, it was equivalent to the soul ring level, but in terms of soul skills, it could only use its own soul skills. For example, the Northland fox only provided Huo Yuhao with a soul skill called Spiritual Power Blade, so it could only use this soul skill. However, as a soul spirit, it could store extra soul power, so it did not consume Huo Yuhao's soul power during battle, and Huo Yuhao could also use this soul power, which was equivalent to having an extra small power bank. Huo Yuhao also tested the growth potential. If the Northland fox was allowed to practice by itself, it would grow much slower than the normal practice of soul beasts. But it could practice with Huo Yuhao. Compared with Huo Yuhao's initial cultivation speed, the normal cultivation speed of the Northland fox is 0.3, and the cultivation speed after becoming a soul spirit is 0.1. Under the influence of Huo Yuhao's 2.0 cultivation speed, it is directly increased to 1.5. After the experiment, Alex looked at the Northland fox in Huo Yuhao's arms with interest, and said in amazement. There is no problem with our soul experiment, but the problem is these soul beasts. They are like a special soul with entity. If they are made into an army of undead. Alex's eyes were cast on the Northland fox, and the aggression in his eyes made the fox, who had never seen the world, tremble. Okay, Yilao, don't scare Xiaobai. Huo Yuhao hugged Xiaobai, the Northland fox. Because he turned into a physical body, he could touch Xiaobai now. The soft fur on it made Huo Yuhao reluctant to let go. Okay, I'm a little tired. Wait until the big bugs recover and talk to the Ice Emperor before calling me. Ilex said, and went back to Huo Yuhao's Sea of Consciousness, leaving a warning. You must watch the next soul ritual carefully. After you learn this ritual, I can teach you the magic of the dead. Huo Yuhao saw that everything was fine, so he let Xiaobai return to the soul ring. After such a long test, Xiaobai was a little tired, so he let it return to the soul ring to recuperate naturally. He returned to the pirate world, waiting for Tianmeng and Suidi to rest, and experimented with new abilities. As an 8,000-year-old Northland fox, the soul skills it provides are still very powerful. In the test just now, the Northland fox alone can leave an ice mark on the ice under its feet by using this soul skill. According to Tianmen's estimation, the full attack power has reached the Soul King level. The next day, Huo Yuhao calculated the time and returned to the extreme north again. According to the time, it should be noon in the far north now, but it is still covered with snow, and there is no warmth at all. Walking on the ice and snow, with the help of Tianmeng Ice Silkworm to cover his breath, Huo Yuhao successfully arrived at the core area of the far north, which is near the gathering place of ice jade scorpions. Yuhao, we are about to start, please be careful. After arriving at the destination, Xuedi showed her soul body and said. Okay, Xuedi. After responding, Huo Yuhao took a step back and left the stage to Xuedi and Tianmeng. After seeing Huo Yuhao retreat, the Snow Queen glanced at Tianmeng, and then communicated with the power of her seal. After a moment, the breath surged, and the breath of the 700,000-year-old ice snow girl descended on the core area. In an instant, the soul beasts hidden in the surroundings rushed to run away after sensing this breath. The core area of the entire far north was in chaos under the Snow Queen's breath. The first to feel this breath was naturally the overlord of this area, the Ice Jade Scorpion clan. The Ice Queen, who was recovering from his injuries, felt the breath of the Snow Queen around his territory and was a little confused. Judging from the situation of the Snow Queen's breath, she should have something to do with her, but why didn't she come to the territory to find her directly? Although she was puzzled, she still planned to go and see if the Snow Queen had something to do. After pacifying the Ice Jade Scorpion in the clan, the Ice Queen rushed in the direction where the Snow Queen's breath came from. She was so fast that she was afraid that the Snow Queen had something urgent to find her. Because she did not hide her aura on the way, Tianmeng and Suidi in the distance also felt the rapid approach of Bingdi. Tianmen's soul looked at Suidi with envy, and this envy flashed away. If he dared to show his aura in front of Bingdi, Bingdi would definitely come faster. Well, it's just that the purpose is a little different. After Suidi showed her aura, Bingdi came so quickly because he wanted to see Suidi as soon as possible. If Bingdi came to see him, it would probably be a fight to the death. Chapter 48. She hadn't noticed it when she was far away, but when she got closer, she noticed that there seemed to be something wrong with the breath of the Snow Emperor. Although the breath had not changed, it felt very unreal. It felt like dreaming about the Snow Emperor. The breath was very real, but it was so close that she couldn't touch it. Because she was worried about the Snow Emperor, the Ice Emperor moved faster. Not long after, she arrived in front of the Snow Emperor. Huo Yuhao also saw the Ice Emperor again. The second time he saw the Ice Emperor, he was not as elegant as the last time. There were many cracks on her body, which was like a work of art. There were more than 10 large and small cracks. The most serious one even went deep into the tail, and there was a lot of wind and snow on her body. The reason why the Ice Emperor was so embarrassed was not only because she was in a hurry to run here, but also because of the battle with several titled Douluo of the Star Luo Empire more than 10 days ago. The injury in that battle was not serious, but it indirectly caused the injury of her damaged origin. Coupled with the upcoming fourth heavenly punishment, all these factors combined made her condition so bad. The injuries on her body were also difficult to recover because of the damage to her origin. Snow Girl. Bing-er. Two voices sounded, and they were the ones who met each other. Obviously, both of them were shocked by each other's condition. What happened to you? The soul of the Snow Emperor looked at the scars on the body of the Ice Emperor and asked with some heartache. When Huo Yuhao just absorbed her as the second martial soul, Tianmeng told her about the situation, but she didn't expect that the Ice Emperor would be injured so badly. You know, with their physical strength, it is difficult for ordinary injuries to leave scars on the body, and even if there are scars, they can usually heal quickly. And injuries like this that are difficult to recover from deep in the body are all injuries to the root. This also made her completely believe what Tianmeng said, that the Ice Emperor's origin was damaged. I'm fine. I just fought a few soul masters who came to the far north to hunt souls. I got a little injured. What happened to you? Ice Emperor didn't care about the scars on her body. She briefly talked about the battle half a month ago and asked casually. In her perception, the image of Snow Emperor now is the pure spiritual origin image. When she thought about it, she hadn't seen Snow Emperor for a long time, which made her feel ominous. And what's the matter with this big bug? How could he be with you? Even the form is the same. Ice Emperor came closer and stared at Tianmeng Ice Silkworm. She was naturally very familiar with Tianmeng. She had hunted Tianmeng for many years before. If Tianmeng hadn't been lucky, she would have eaten Tianmeng long ago. In that case, she wouldn't have to worry about the catastrophe. If there was the supply of Tianmen's energy, it wouldn't be difficult for Ice Emperor to go straight to 600,000 years, not to mention worrying about the catastrophe of 400,000 years like now. When thinking like this, Bingdi looked at Tianmeng with more and more dangerous eyes, but he restrained himself because he couldn't figure out the current situation. Mainly because of Suidi. Hee, Bing Bing, don't look at me like that. Although I know that I am very charming, you will be shy if you stare at me like this. Tianmeng Bingken was not afraid of Bingdi's increasingly dangerous eyes, but called Bing Bing all the time. Tianmeng, if you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. Get lost. The first sentence was said by Bingdi, and the second sentence was said by Suidi. Facing the cooperation of the two, Tianmeng could only stop the idea of taking advantage of the words, and left here with a smirk, leaving the stage to Bingdi and Suidi. After a while, the two finished talking, and Bingdi looked at Suidi with some complexity. She didn't expect Swaty to have such rich experience during this period, and then her eyes became firm. Okay, Snow Girl, I'll go back and make arrangements for the tribe first. Please wait for me for a while. After being persuaded by the Snow Emperor, the Ice Emperor glanced at Huo Yuhao and Tianmeng Ice Silkworm not far away, and quickly went in the direction they came from. After talking with the Snow Emperor just now, she already knew the current state of the Snow Emperor, and also knew the reason why they came to find her. For this reason, she naturally accepted the invitation of the god train with pleasure. Not only because there is indeed the possibility of becoming a god, but also because of the participation of the Snow Emperor. Of course, there are also more realistic elements in it, that is, it is almost impossible for her to survive this 400,000 year heavenly punishment, so this plan is her best choice. But before becoming Huo Yuhao's soul, she still has to go to the Ice Jade Scorpions clan to arrange the Ice Jade Scorpion clan. After losing her, the highest combat power of the Ice Jade Scorpion clan, the status of the Ice Jade Scorpion clan in the far north will definitely be reduced, but the Ice Jade Scorpion clan itself has many 100,000 year level soul beasts, so there is no need to worry about safety. While everything was going smoothly for Huo Yuhao, Shrek Academy also discovered something. It started when Mujin was taking her classmates to visit the Soul Guidance Department one day and ran into Duo. After seeing each other, both of them were very surprised. Because Huo Yuhao told Mujin that Duo was taking him to hunt souls, and told Duo that Mujin was taking him to hunt souls. Although the two of them were surprised when they first met, they could understand it. When Mujin saw Duo, she thought that Duo, as the Vice Dean of the Soul Guidance Department, had a lot of work every day and didn't have time to take Huo Yuhao to hunt souls, so she arranged for other people to help Huo Yuhao hunt souls, which was understandable. Duo thought that Mujin, as the head teacher, had other students to teach, so he understood that Huo Yuhao was assigned to other people to hunt souls. But as the two of them talked, they found something wrong. Vice Dean Jian, it's been almost a month. When will Huo Yuhao come back? He has fallen behind in his courses, and the freshman assessment is coming soon. If he doesn't come back, I can't assign him a team. Mujin asked, but it sounded strange to Duo. Didn't you arrange someone to hunt souls? Why are you asking me? Duo thought to himself, and then he felt something was wrong. Teacher Mujin, didn't you arrange someone to take Huo Yuhao to hunt souls? The two looked at each other, and they saw confusion and fear in each other's eyes. Confusion because they didn't know why Huo Yuhao lied to them. Fear because Huo Yuhao didn't rely on them. Just relying on him, a small soul master who didn't get the second soul ring, let alone hunting soul beasts, it would be difficult for him to escape from the mouth of a soul beast, right? No, he told me that you took him to hunt souls. What the hell is this bastard going to do? When this bastard comes back, I'll skin him alive. Chapter 49. At the same time, I will also prepare for the freshman assessment in groups tomorrow. Song King Han, come down to my office. Mujin stood on the podium and said to the students below. Just when she was about to leave the classroom, she saw someone who surprised her, and her face darkened instantly. The person who came had short ice blue hair and was tall and looked to be about 14 or 15 years old. He was Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao, you bastard, you still know how to come back. Although Huo Yuhao's appearance changed drastically, Mujin still recognized Huo Yuhao at a glance. Instinctively, I wanted to teach Huo Yuhao a lesson, but the students nearby looked over curiously, and finally decided to save some face for Huo Yuhao. You come to the office with me. With that said, Mujin walked out of the classroom, followed by Huo Yuhao and Song King Han. Classmate Huo Yuhao, I heard that you took a month's leave to hunt for souls. Song King Han, who was following Mujin, asked curiously. These days, because Huo Yuhao has not come to school for a long time, there are some rumors in the class. Mujin said that Huo Yuhao went to hunt for souls. After that, the rumors stopped, but everyone was curious about where Huo Yuhao went to hunt for souls. It took so long. I don't know. I thought he had dropped out of school. Hehe, you will know later. Huo Yuhao said mysteriously. Before going out, he was still a soul master, but when he came back, he was already a soul master. No one would believe it if he told him, so Huo Yuhao planned to prove it with facts later. Moreover, he also wanted to share the good news with Mujin and Duo first. After all, after coming to Shrek, the people closest to him were Mujin and Duo. It felt like facing elders, so now that he was awesome, he immediately wanted to share the good news with them. At the same time, he also prepared gifts for Mujin and Duo, and planned to hand them over to them later. Just when Song Qinghan was about to continue asking, Hibiscus in front suddenly turned his head and glanced at Huo Yuhao and Song Qinghan before giving up Song Qinghan's idea of asking. Huo Yuhao followed Mujin and walked into the office. More than a month has passed, and Hibiscus's office still looks like that. There are only 2 unknown trees as potted plants at the door, and there are no other decorations. Mujin sat on the chair and ignored Huo Yuhao, but looked at Song Qinghan first. Song Qinghan, I told you during the last class meeting that the spot that directly passes the assessment is the most suitable for you. I have also communicated with the teacher in the Soul Guidance Department, and you can go there at any time. It's just that there are exactly 66 students in the class now, so I hope you can form a team to take the freshman assessment together, is that okay? Mujin said, fearing that Song Qinghan would misunderstand, so he added another sentence. This assessment will not affect your promotion. I just feel that people who work from other classes are not as cooperative as those in my own class. Facing the explanation given by Mujin, Song Qinghan agreed without any hesitation. In the past 2 months, he had always remembered Hibiscus' kindness to him. After knowing that he was more interested in soul guidance tools, he introduced the teacher of the Soul Guidance Department to him. He was also very grateful to Mujin and naturally would not refuse this small thing. Okay teacher, it's just that my soul power is only level 19 and I'm not good at fighting yet. I'm afraid it will hold me back. It's okay, classmate Song Qinghan, just do your best. After another word of encouragement to Song Qinghan, Mujin set her sights on Huo Yuhao. After Song Qinghan walked away, screams rang out in the office. Teacher, be gentle, it hurts. You still know it hurts? I thought you didn't know. We agreed to take a month off and come back, but you didn't come back until a month and a half later. Also, do you dare to lie to the teacher? In the office, Mujin pinched Huo Yuhao's ears and yelled angrily. Although it looks fierce like this, Hibiscus is actually not using any force, and with Huo Yuhao's current Soul King level physical fitness, he doesn't feel any pain at all. His screams now are just to cooperate with Hibiscus. I was wronged, teacher. Unjustly? You wrongfully accused a big-headed ghost. Who accompanied you to hunt for souls? Teacher, please calm down first, I have my reasons too. After Mujin vented his anger, Huo Yuhao spoke and summoned his martial soul and soul ring to show Mujin. The eyes instantly turned into light green spiritual eyes, and the 3 soul rings of yellow, purple and purple underneath him shone. Teacher, I am now the 30-level Soul Master. After I upgraded to the Soul Master, the mutated first soul ring was upgraded to the 100-year level. The second and third soul rings I hunted also reached 1000 and 4000 years respectively. Millennium level. Huo Yuhao said, the soul ring under his body and the aura on his body all proved that what he said was true. In the office, Huo Yuhao fell into silence after revealing his soul ring. 10 minutes later, Huo Yuhao rushed out of the office as if he was running away and had time to breathe, but thinking that he still had to go to the Soul Guidance Department to explain to Duo now made him feel dizzy again. Seeing Huo Yuhao leave the office as if fleeing, Mujin couldn't help but lose her voice. This kid makes it seem like I can still eat him. Shaking her head, Hibiscus looked at the list of students in her hand. Although the get out of class is over now, her work has just begun. She has to sort out the martial soul information of all the students before tomorrow, and provide corresponding development routes according to their martial souls and soul skills. In fact, Mujin had almost handled it a few days ago, and today was just a final confirmation to avoid mistakes tomorrow. Ning Tian, Level 31, Martial Soul 7 Treasure Glazed Tower, Auxiliary System. Wu Feng, Level 25, Martial Soul Red Dragon, Strong Attack System. Nanman Yuner, Level 24, Martial Soul Jade Blue Bird, Agile Attack System. Xiao Xiao, Level 22, Martial Soul 3 Live Soul Suppressing Cauldron. This martial soul has mutated, and the normal soul suppressing cauldron is biased towards the auxiliary system. Xiao Xiao's 3 Live Soul Suppressing Cauldron can attack, control the field, and assist. Well, let's discuss it with her tomorrow. Reading several names in a row, Mujin was not impatient at all, and carefully wrote notes on the names. On her desk, an ice blue orchid was shining. This is a herb that Huo Yuhao found in the far north. Although its efficacy is average, it is very beautiful. The fragrance it emits has the effect of calming the mind. Huo Yuhao snatched it from a soul beast in the far north as a gift for Mu Jin. Similarly, he also prepared a special gift for Qian Duo. Chapter 50. A strange-looking car was driving on the square. The car has only 2 wheels, but it can maintain balance and drive very smoothly on the road, attracting the attention of many students. Huo Yuhao sat on it and walked slowly towards the direction of the soul guidance system. This is one of the gifts Huo Yuhao gave to Qian Duo. To be more precise, the internal power device of this motorcycle was Huo Yuhao's gift. The energy storage device was made by adding the power of luck to the inspiration of the original milk bottle after he was promoted to the second-level soul mentor. This was one of the reasons why he came back half a month later than expected. In fact, it only took him a few days to absorb the Ice Emperor as his second soul. The rest of the time was spent on adapting to the strength and doing some chores. For example, transforming your tricycle into a 4-wheeled RV, the design of this energy storage device, Nami's first soul, or the high awakening martial arts souls for Belmir and Naki. Especially this energy storage device. Because Huo Yuhao was willing to use the power of luck this time, a blueprint of the energy storage device including applicable materials, formation characterization, internal structure, etc. was prepared. Not only can it absorb and store the soul power of the soul master, it can also use solar energy as energy storage. Just because it is only a second-level soul guide now, there are only these 2 ways to obtain energy for the time being. It is worth mentioning that the 4-wheeled RV modified by Huo Yuhao also added a little bit of black technology provided by Electrolux. Anyway, Huo Yuhao thinks the effect is quite good. Driving all the way from the far north, the experience is quite good. Lao Deng, I'm back! Huo Yuhao shouted as soon as he reached the gate of the Soul Guidance Department. Behind him were many classmates from the Soul Guidance Department, including Hikatu. Because he was the one who told Huo Yuhao that Lao Deng, Qian Duo, was in the experimental area. Seeing Huo Yuhao yelling at this moment, he even felt a little guilty. Lao Deng, come out quickly and see what gift I have brought you. After shouting, seeing that there was still no response in the testing area, Huo Yuhao used his soul power to increase and shouted. It is no exaggeration to say that this voice attracted the attention of the entire Soul Guidance Department, and even people outside the Soul Guidance Department could hear it. All the eyes of the audience were focused on the door. The next second, Huo Yuhao felt as if he was being restrained by the back of Fate's neck, and then disappeared in place. The scene was silent for a moment, and then another black shadow flashed away, and the motorcycle at the scene also disappeared, leaving only one sentence behind. You have nothing to do, right? Go to class quickly. In the office of the Soul Guidance Department, Huo Yuhao sat on Qian Duo's chair, facing Qian Duo with his martial soul activated, the soul ring under his feet flashing, and a malicious smile on his face. He was not afraid at all, but rather relaxed playing with a drawing leisurely. Lao Deng, I just came back to see you. I didn't drink any water along the way. I'm really a little thirsty. Seeing that Huo Yuhao refused to follow his own example and kept asking for water, Qian Duo almost lost his defense. Hao Xian suppressed his anger, and the 9 soul rings that were yellow, purple, black and black under his body were withdrawn. He walked up to Huo Yuhao with a dark face, stretched out his sinful right hand and lifted Huo Yuhao up from the chair. The two faced each other and Qian Duo spoke word by word. I'll give you another chance. Tell me honestly why you went on this trip. Otherwise, I won't be polite to you. After finishing speaking, he threw Huo Yuhao to the door and looked at Huo Yuhao with a kind smile on his face. Well, that's if you ignore his clenched fists. Seeing that the teasing was almost over and he would easily get beaten if he continued, Huo Yuhao laughed twice and said his words about the far north. Of course, this is after a lot of magic changes. Like the Snow Emperor, the existence of the Ice Emperor was completely hidden. He just said that when he was hunting souls in the far north, he accidentally fell into a cave and found the inheritance of a strong man named Ice God Douluo in the cave. After receiving the inheritance, he awakened the second martial spirit, Ice Sky Snow Girl, and absorbed a 1000-year level Ice Silkworm, reaching level 28. Later, according to Ice God Douluo's inheritance, he not only raised his cultivation level to level 30, but also obtained the first soul in the history of Douluo. Even this blueprint was a relic in Ice God Douluo's inheritance. Listening to the bizarre story, Qian Duo showed no emotion like disbelief. The main thing is that the facts are before his eyes. For example, Huo Yuhao's level, the drawings in his hand and the fox in Huo Yuhao's arms. Then have you mastered the method of creating this kind of soul now? Duo glanced at the drawing in his hand and stopped paying attention, because compared to the energy storage device, the little fox in Huo Yuhao's hand was more important. Soul. Just by listening to Huo Yuhao's description, he was keenly aware that this would be a product that transcended the times. I can't do it now. According to the inheritance description, Xiao Bai was obtained by the ice god Douluo's will for me. I was still in a coma at that time. I won't know the details until I can obtain the soul ring at level 40. Process. Huo Yuhao said, and then talked about the drawings and souls. Duo asked Huo Yuhao to leave. Standing in front of the door, Huo Yuhao looked back and said something as if he just remembered something. Lao Deng, the motorcycle you got downstairs is the gift I brought you. After saying that, Huo Yuhao left the office directly. Watching Huo Yuhao's retreating figure, Duo secretly cursed a brat, and a woman appeared behind him. Your little apprentice is quite good. Well, is this little bastard not bad? Facing the compliment from the woman behind him, Duo cursed, but a smile appeared on his face. This smile was not only because of Huo Yuhao, but also because of the woman behind him. Liner, what do you think? Xian Liner walked out from behind, picked up the drawing in Duo's hand and looked at it carefully. It doesn't matter what I think. What matters is what you think, and what Mr. Mu thinks. Both of them knew this matter well, and it was no longer something they suppressed. It would definitely be reported to Poseidon Pavilion. As Huo Yuhao's master, Duo will definitely support Huo Yuhao with his character. And Duo is her husband. Although she doesn't like Duo, she will fully support him. That's why she says her opinion doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, do you believe what that bastard kid said?